Goat, isn't it?
Sheep, I think.
Is
But
it a
yes,
sheep?
I think.
And yes, I know we're on the stream, but I still don't know what a U is.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I got shooshed before I even opened the show.
It was impressive, wasn't it?
Dang, Chad. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Good morning, Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. What up, world? Great to be with you again on a beautiful Upstate Tuesday AM. I am Rob Brown. Across from me, the sheriff of sports talk himself, Lonzo.
Lonzo is a superstar.
There it is.
Yeah, I don't like being cute. Okay, being cute that makes me feel subservient, and I don't like that.
I
Fella.
saw you looking for the button.
Oh, I
You
did.
didn't hide it well.
Yeah, but then you pointed. Well, I had this habit of like having the cursor on something and then bumping it, kind of like the mute button. Sometimes you do that.
It's 1-0, by the way, early in the week.
Yeah, well, I will be made fun of by engineering for the rest of my life for clicking the mute button.
You did do that.
Yeah,
that
I
one,
did.
That one stings a little bit.
I did, but it's down.
I get it.
Right. It's, yeah.
That one stings a little bit. As the executive producer.
As I was told, dumbest move of the week or so. I can't remember what
Dumbest move of the week.
I can't remember what Chris named it, but basically it comes, I'm sure it sounded more intelligent when he said it. So I just brought it down to me. It was the dumbest move of the week. So far, it could have been topped by somebody else by now because we have other people in the building who do dumb things. I rarely do something like that.
Everybody in this building is someone who does dumb things.
Yeah, I know.
We all got in this industry together.
Usually I just figure it out before I tell somebody, and fix it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got a show lined up for you today. We got a lot of college football set to go on this broadcast. Lonzo and I are going to give you before the end of the radio broadcast. And by that, I mean probably in the next segment, because I suspect we're going to fight about it. That being me and you, the listener. I feel like Lonzo's going to be very happy with my playoff four. I'm going to give you my playoff four coming up here in the next segment of the radio broadcast. And I will tell you,
it's going to be Florida and Tennessee and Auburn and TCU, right?
Disrespecting the Tide, Lonzo. You disrespecting the Tide. I will tell you, as a spoiler alert, I do have two teams from one conference in the playoff four. Which conference, though, Rob? Stay tuned. You'll find out in the next segment.
Is it the biggest one?
You're not going to know until later.
It was worth a shot.
It was worth a shot. I'll tell you what teams those are and what conference will have two participants in this year's NCAA college football playoffs.
It's the OAC, right? The Ohio Athletic Conference.
The Ohio Athletic Conference. I thought you were going to go Ohio Atlantic Conference.
No.
We add FSU and Clemson into the Big Ten.
As a former member of the OAC, Otterbein, Otters, Cardinals, they couldn't figure out what the mascot was. There's like one painted on one wall, one painted on the other. But we never won any games at the time, so it didn't really matter.
The OAC, baby. I'll tell you what conference has two teams in my estimation, when we coming up on that.
Wait. It's the Pac-4.
It is not the Pac-4. Go ahead and tell you for a fact it is not the Pac-4. I will reveal that much. So we'll talk about that coming up in the next segment of the show. I also, later on in the radio broadcast, as I was putting this together yesterday, and I was trying to come up with what my playoff four were going to be, I want you to know that I created a document on my tablet last night where I just put a bunch of boxes and I kept coming up with different 4 and then like trying to rationalize that 4. Like, all right, I think this team and here's why and here's their schedule. I ended up with, I think at the last time I counted, I ended up with like 23 different combinations of around 8 teams that I think could get in. About 23 different combinations of about 8 or 9 teams I think could get in. And I can justify all of them. I can justify them all based on, hey, if this one game goes this way, then it's these 4. And if it goes that way, it's these 4. And then if this one game goes that way and it's these 2, but then this team in that 2 has this game go that way, they're back out and this other team. It was a lot, dude. It was a lot. And the more that I dug my grubby little hands into these playoff scenarios, I hate to say it, the more excited I got by college football, because it really does kind of feel, and it's got a lot to do with some teams finding new quarterbacks, some teams that have coaches on the hot seat, whether or not I think they should be, etc. The more I dug my hands into these playoff scenarios for different teams, the more I realized while it is amongst a select group, there's a pretty decent parity in college football this year, at least amongst the 1%ers, right? At least amongst the top handful of contenders for the conference championships. There's actually a pretty good college football playoff parity level at its top. Yesterday afternoon, after this show was over, I did a few hours with PJ Glasser from BetQL on You Better You Bet, their afternoon show. And basically we went over our 5 Power 5 conference champion projections and our playoff 4 projections. And I will say, in a moment of unpreparedness, I didn't know we were going to do that on that show. And so because I didn't know we were going to do that on the show, I really just kind of like threw out the knee-jerk reactions to these conferences. Now, they told me during a break, they're like, hey, next segment, we're going to give our 5 Power 5 conference champions. So I basically had about 6 minutes to come up with all 5. I had about a minute and some change to spend per conference coming up with a winner. So I did them on the fly, and then we did our playoff 4 on the fly. And then when immediately when that show was over, I grabbed the tablet and went to work on actually hammering out my playoff 4. But when we were picking our Power 5 conference champions yesterday, PJ Glasser and I, we went all 5 and had 0 in common. PJ and I did all 5 Power 5 conference champions, and we had 0 conferences where we selected the same conference champion.
Oh no, does that get you invited back, or is that the opposite? Well, obviously he doesn't know what he's doing. So.
You and I have both been told many, many times, what is the driving force in sports talk radio? What's the driving force in any talk radio?
Debate.
Conflict.
Yes.
Debate, conflict,
See,
fights, whatever.
I prefer debate. It's more, it sounds classier than them boys are feuding.
Well, if there's one thing we know around here, it's class.
Absolutely.
We got big class. Got a big old class on this show. 0.
Yeah, upper class, lower class. A lot of classes.
0 in common conference champions between he and I. So I'll throw them out on the air today and see what you guys think about it. We'll do that coming up in the next segment. We got to get some NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, I do have, hilariously enough, to take it for just a second, unfortunately, to the, I got to take it to the serious side of things. Rest in peace to the Baltimore Ravens 24-game preseason win streak. It came to its conclusion yesterday evening at the hands of the not Daniel Snyder-owned Washington whatever they are's. The whatever they are's got the better of the Ravens last night on a Joey Sly walk-off FG. And the single most impressive streak in Undertaker at WrestleMania, who's that? Cal Ripken Iron Man streak? What are you even talking about? The most impressive streak in the history of sports belonged, past tense, to the Baltimore Ravens. But their preseason streak comes to its end last night. A moment of silence for the Baltimore Ravens. All right, that was enough silence for that. That was good. That was it.
And your music ended too. So.
Oh no, I have 8 minutes and 41 seconds of funeral march.
Oh, so you
paused
it.
I could do a whole segment just doing the funeral march. Give me something real sad, and we'll do it.
No, don't do that. Let's stay upbeat. Let's do that. I know that I heard a clip earlier that not Jim Harbaugh, his brother was his brother who's the coach of Baltimore. I forget what his first name is.
John.
We'll go with that. It's a common name, so maybe that's what it is. John was talking about how hard these guys played and that it meant something to them. He sounded pretty serious.
One of their offensive linemen after the game, they were talking about it. They were like, hey, 24-game preseason win streak snapped. How do you feel about it? And he said, who gives a boat? He didn't say boat. But if you listen to the show, you know what I'm talking about. 24-game win streak came to its conclusion last night. Just our long national nightmare has just begun. Who is the next team with a 24-game preseason win streak? I don't know. Do you care about that streak if you're on that team? I feel like if you're a third stringer trying to make the team, you care about it. But if you're like a starter, no.
I think the only way it matters is if the game is on the line and you fumbled the ball and they ran it back or you threw a pick six or something. Exactly. So, because then you could blame it on one person. But without that, it's just preseason.
We'll talk about that later on in the radio broadcast. Jonathan Taylor, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, Jim Irsay said, we will absolutely not trade Jonathan Taylor. We will not negotiate with terrorists. We will not give in to his demands until yesterday when they said, yeah, all right, just gone.
He didn't call him a terrorist.
He didn't call him a terrorist. That was a mockumentary.
It wasn't a direct quote. He was loosely quoting.
Very loosely. You could, dare I say, paraphrasing, but very loosely paraphrasing.
But he kind of knew that's what
he meant.
Yeah,
that's what he meant.
Yeah.
Say what you want. That's what he meant. The whole time, that's what he meant. So yesterday, he gives Jonathan Taylor permission to go seek a trade. And this is interesting to me. Not because Jonathan Taylor not just because Jonathan Taylor's on the market. I'm intrigued because after an off season where there was so much chaos surrounding running backs and their relationship to teams and general managers within the National Football League, Jonathan Taylor is about to give us a really good read on what that relationship looks like. Jonathan Taylor is only 24 years old. He is 2 years removed from a season that the majority of us thought he should have won the NFL Offensive Player of the Year award and got robbed of it.
Yeah. He's really good.
He's very good. And he's 24.
So who needs a running back right now? I mean, who's going to be willing to do
Detroit,
some dealing?
Miami, Minnesota, Baltimore. Who else would I go with? Miami.
I think he fits well in Detroit. Mentality and all that stuff. Yeah,
my first pick was Detroit.
Yeah.
I think Detroit would have been a great pick. I think Detroit's a great pick. I think Minnesota would be a real good landing spot without Dalvin Cook.
That's true.
New England? Does he fit with a hoodie? I think he might.
Yeah, he's already complained to get out of somewhere. He's not going to bring someone like that in. Well, he brought in Randy Moss, though. So, I mean, you never know.
I think Miami's a real good fit too. I can't buy in on Miami until I can see Tua go 3 or 4 weeks without getting his brain turned into scrambled eggs again.
I want that guy with Detroit. I don't want Detroit to win their first game, but I'm okay with them winning, a bunch of other ones.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that later in the show. So we got that coming up. But let's do this. Let's go ahead and run to our break. On time? That's what we do around here. Just disciplined professional radio, ladies and gentlemen.
I just want you to know that anytime I really have to pee and you're going long, you're going to hear that shoosh cut. I want you to know that. I'm warning you ahead of time.
Now it makes sense. Now I got it. So before we go out to break, shoosh! When we come back, I will present to thee my playoff 4. I'll see if Lonzo wants to do his as well. I did tell him yesterday.
You told me, this is a whole lot of I here. Okay, fine.
I forgot to ask before the show because I'm a jackass.
I just wrote them down.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't need all that.
You didn't need time to think about it? You're just like, got this.
I had to think about the fourth one.
Okay. Well, we'll find out who the fourth one was when we come back. That's the great one, the Sheriff of me. The Sheriff of Sports Talk, Lonzo. I'm Rob Brown. This is the Weenus and Pitt Show on the Fan Upstate. To fade out, Chad.
I was looking for that earlier, and that's the first thing that popped up, and it's Sammy. It's Imperium and Sammy and KO in the ring, and then he comes out and does that, and Sammy's in the ring trying to get him to keep going. And you can just see him just working on it. It's like that long note in Take On Me or something, where you're hearing it and you're just trying to see, can I stick with that the entire time?
No one can, by the way.
Oh, come on.
No one can, except the guy who did it.
Is everything all right? Is it okay? Didn't break anything, right? You took your adapter out of there, but let's hope it still works.
From local medical professionals can help your body heal itself with lasting pain relief.
Trust me, you want to avoid surgery if you can. Check out these biologic treatments to see what your options are.
QC Kinetics, restorative, regenerative solutions with no downtime, no surgery, no drugs.
I'm talking about joint pain we all can relate to in your knees, your shoulders, your hips, and your lower back. They'll get you feeling good again.
Get relief.
So now we don't have to hear about, Baltimore having that streak anymore. Now, if someone could just go perfect to an entire season, we wouldn't have to hear about Miami.
Efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-324-0231. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-324-0231 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone.
So I got a shot in my knee yesterday because I'm having some pain in my reconstructed knee, and I've never had that happen before. Big fear on my part, but now I no longer am concerned about when a player gets hurt and they go back and get a shot to come back on. I guess it depends on what's in the shot, but it did not hurt. So.
Running a small business is no small task. At Home Trust Bank, we work hard to prepare businesses for whatever tomorrow may bring. Your dreams are our business, and we have local experts who can help you plan for a successful future. Dependable guidance you need, and service you'll appreciate. At Home Trust Bank, We take your small business baking personally.
No, my knee's not instantly better. Trey, I'm not going to be able to do that. I wish. I got to be smart. All right, I'm going to be smart. I don't have to be smart. That's what they say, but I got one shot, and it seems to be helping some. But from what I understand about Dragon Con, it's nothing but walking, and I can't, try to get myself back ready for South Carolina Comic-Con Junior, so I have till October. Yes, the Giants did take that from them. There's only one team I didn't want to take it away from Miami, and that was the Patriots.
Well, it's a long way to Richmond. Riding north on 95.
Unique and unlike any other sports talk show. It's BetMGM tonight, Monday through Friday from 7 to 11, only on the Fan. BetMGM tonight is the red zone for casual and hardcore sports fans. Live sports betting updates for all of the next games.
So you think John Cena returning to SmackDown has anything to do with the writers and actors strike?
From what I understand,
because he can't do his
WWE is not impacted by the writer's strike because
no, but he is. So he can't.
Yeah, that's right.
He can't work.
Yeah, good call.
So I mean,
For the record, he showed up on SmackDown.
He's going to.
Oh. The Rob Brown Show is in your ear holes, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. How do you do, South Carolina? It's great to be with you. I'm Rob Brown, the great one Lonzo on the ones and twos this morning. 844-326-3663. It's a phone number to jump on the air. 71307. That's the number to the carpros.com text line. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we'll read it on the air. FAN, F-A-N. Start your text to 71307. Let's go with our playoff 4 projections. Now, to do that, I do think it is somewhat important to give our Power 5 conference champions as well, because winning a Power 5 conference championship obviously gives you a big leg up on getting in. So let's run through them real quick. In my ever so humble opinion, I'll start with the Pac-12. I'm actually going to go with USC on this one. I know we're out there on a thin branch. I'll tell you there's a threat to USC, and that's the Washington
Is it a
Huskies.
large man on the thin branch, though?
Sturdy fella.
Real
Sturdy fella out there. USC ends their schedule with a bit of a gauntlet. They're at Notre Dame on October 14th. They're back home for Utah. That's a top 15 team. Then they're at Cal, back home for a top 10 team in Washington, on the road at 15, Oregon, and then back home for the rivalry game against UCLA, the last time that rivalry game will be played under the Pac-12 banner. That's a gauntlet. And I kind of think that there's a loss coming somewhere for the Trojans. I almost went with Washington here. I almost went with the Huskies. I'm looking at the Huskies this year, who have Penix coming back as their quarterback, who have upgraded their wide receiver room dramatically. But the end of their season isn't much simpler. They're at Stanford, then at USC, back home for Utah, at Oregon State, and then they've got Washington State. They've also got a game against Michigan State in week 3 at Sparty. Mel Tucker's on the hot seat. Michigan State's got to be the best version of themselves they've been in a very long time. So I can't quite go with Washington. I'm going to go with USC. In the Big 12, let me be abundantly clear about this. Texas is not back, but they will win the Big 12. And they will win the Big 12 because there's nobody else that can. With respect to Brent Venables, Oklahoma is not going to do it. There's some other good teams out there I'm keeping an eye on, like Kansas State.
Are you afraid of Brent Venables? Is that why you got to throw some respect his way?
No, I just know there's a lot of people around here that do like the guy. And I like Brent Venables. Brent Venables, the 2 times I interacted with him at Clemson, was nothing but uber kind to me. And also, by the way, was the first person to point out Papa Shot victory number 1 for your boy. All right? So I do like Brent Venables. I said yesterday on You Better You Bet, Brent Venables, I think, may be the most recent illustration of the Peter Principle. We've talked about that on the show many times, right? The Peter Principle states that everyone is promoted to one level above their competence. Much to the chagrin of many a parent out there, I have a message for you kids. You cannot do anything that you set your mind to. I'm sorry, that's not the way the world works. I know it's a harsh reality, but it's a reality nonetheless.
Yeah, he doesn't like kids, so why would you listen to advice?
Oh, that's true for adults too.
Okay.
I get very tired of a bunch of adults saying all the things they're going to do, and I'm like, no, you can't. I can't go get my master's from Yale. I can't do it no matter how hard I try because I am, and this is statistically provable, dumb.
Yeah.
I can't.
I still believe you can because there are honorary degrees given out to people all the time who don't deserve it.
I didn't say
so you
honorary
absolutely
degree. I said
could get
master's degree.
You could get an honorary
degree.
master's. You could. There's some.
Okay.
All you gotta do is become a politician. And
is that putting your mind to it, or is that being awarded something you don't deserve because of feel goods? There's a difference. I put my mind to making it to the NBA, but I didn't. You know why? It's not because I didn't try hard. I was the hardest working dude in high school for 4 years on the basketball team because I love basketball. The reason I didn't make it to the show is because, and this is also true, I suck at basketball. That's a real good reason. You can't do everything you put your mind to. I'm not saying Brent Venables is a bad coach. I think he is honestly one of the best 2 or 3 defensive coordinators in college football. And if he gets fired at the end of this year by Oklahoma, which for the record, he might, we'll talk about that later, I think every school should be lining up to hire Brent Venables. But here's the reality. I do not think he has head coach temperament, right? I think he's a great coordinator who just does not have the head coach skill set necessary. And that's okay. Very few guys do, right? And that's it. So, I don't think Oklahoma's there. I don't see anybody else. Texas wins the Big 12 by default. It's just they're just the best team. They're not back. They're not ready to compete with the big dogs, I don't think. But there's just nobody else. Out of the Big 10. Oh, don't hit me, Lonzo. I'm going with Michigan. I'm going with the Wolverines. We got to talk about that self-imposed 3-game sanction later on in the show. But I think that this is probably the best Michigan team in a very long time, and they have worked in a consistent starter at quarterback. You're going to find that a lot of my picks are based on consistency at the quarterback position. In fact, the next 3 picks are all primarily based on that. Michigan has got the guy. They are a stout team. I'm going to go with them to win the Big 10. Out of the Southeastern Conference, I'm going with a bit of an upset here. I'm going to go with LSU. And I'm going to go with LSU because of Jaden Daniels. Carson Beck may or may not be a very good quarterback at Georgia. We're going to find out. Carson Beck has thrown 35 college passes so far, the vast majority of them in garbage time for the Dogs. Alabama, Jalen Milroe has thrown a handful of passes, the majority of them in garbage time for the Tide. They also have lost a lot of talent around them. I don't trust Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to be good, but I don't think Tennessee is as good as they were last year. LSU defensively is going to fly around, and Jaden Daniels is a dude. I'm going LSU out of the SEC. And out of the ACC, fight me, I'm going Florida State for much the same reason. Jordan Travis has been there, done that, and been successful at it. I don't know if anybody had as good of a transfer portal season as Mike Norvell did in Tallahassee. The big question marks I had about the Noles all got filled in the portal. So I got a heavy lean on that in that direction. So, with all of those things being said, I'm going with the Noles out of the ACC. Before we get to our playoff four, Lonzo, aside from Clemson over FSU, and I'm assuming aside from Ohio State over Michigan, do you have an issue with any of my other conference champions?
Maybe Pac-12.
Pac-12?
Yeah, maybe. I have no reason, but I'm just going to go with Oregon to win the Pac-12.
Okay, that's not a bad pick, honestly. A lot of folks picking Oregon to win that conference. So, Lonzo's going to go. Stop me if I'm incorrect. Ohio State to win the Big Ten. Clemson to win the ACC. SEC?
Georgia.
Georgia to win the SEC. Oregon to win the Pac-12. And Texas?
Sure.
To win the Big 12? Okay.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who comes out of that conference.
I agree. I don't think the Big 12 is getting a bid. So who does? Well, let's get into that. I am going to open it up with the 4 seed. I'll start with the 4 seed and work my way up. In the 4 seed, Lonzo, I am taking the Ohio State Buckeyes. Despite not being a Power 5 conference champion, I think the Buckeyes are going to be 11-1. I think the only loss is going to come to Michigan. And I think the biggest problem the Buckeyes have this year is that they share a division with Michigan. I think they're going to drop one in the regular season to Michigan. Michigan will go on to win the Big Ten. And Ohio State, who will have a metric boatload of style points at that point, will still be able to finagle their way in, because I think there's going to be a list of teams that have a loss, but I think some of them are going to come in conference championship games. Ohio State won't have one. And whether you think it's fair or not that they make it to a conference championship game, lose, and get jumped by the Buckeyes, doesn't matter. We've seen it happen. I'm going to go Ohio State in the 4th spot.
Are you going to go your 4, my 4? I mean, you want to do it that way? All right. So my 4th is the exact opposite of what your 4th is.
Michigan?
It's Michigan. Yes. And reverse everything you said.
But Michigan.
But Michigan. Yes.
Okay. I'm here for it. Honestly, I went back and forth on those 2 teams.
Someone's job rides on this. I know someone's job rides on this, and that when your job rides on it, it means a little bit more. That's all I'm saying.
If he gets 2 shots at Michigan and he goes 1-1,
doesn't matter. He's got to win the first one.
So if he loses the regular season Michigan game, but then he beats Michigan in the first round of the playoff or in the college football national championship.
Here's the thing. If you lose in the national, that's going to be rough, but you got to win that first one. Because he may be let go before the playoff.
Get out. No. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. If that happens, it's not. If that happened, I will drive to Columbus and tell every person I see in Scarlet, you're an idiot, to their face.
Yeah, it depends on what neighborhood you go to. That probably wouldn't bode. No, it wouldn't bode well for you, is all I'm saying.
All right, let's go to number 3.
You do that stuff on the south side of Columbus, you ain't coming back. I'm just saying.
Let's go to number 3, ladies and gentlemen. At number 3, I am going to place LSU. I'm going to place LSU.
Ooh, you know what that means?
What's that mean?
You said you only picked okay. All right, we'll see.
I'm going to go LSU. I think LSU is going to have 1 loss in the regular season. And I think that 1 loss for LSU is going to end up being probably FSU in week 1. I know you guys think I'm bananas. I really do think that this FSU team is that good. I know most of you are going to call me either a hater or a homer, and I accept that. I do. I think at the end of the year, I'm going to be able to look back and go, was I a homer or was I right? But I'm going to
Can you be a homer and a hater? You absolutely can, can't you?
I mean, yeah, technically.
All right.
But you know what else I can be? I can be right. And I can go, it had nothing to do with it. Like I'm telling you it doesn't. I'm going to go
You
LSU.
could be right and be a hater and a homer.
I'm going to go, here you go, Lonzo. I'm going to go LSU at 12-1 with an SEC championship to boot. Why aren't they number 2? I'm going to tell you in a minute. Who's your 3?
All right, my number 3, and so my 4th one I was having, which would be this, having trouble picking who my 4th team was. I'm going to go with Notre Dame.
Really?
Yes, I'm going to go with Notre Dame.
The Irish.
And not only are we going to see how things get started with Notre Dame this weekend, but they've always had that chance to get in. They just got to win all their games. They win all their games they're in.
Notre Dame setting up this year with, first off, Navy this weekend.
Right.
Week 0 matchup.
What I just said. Yeah.
They are at NC State. They've got the Buckeyes coming to town. Then they're at Duke. They're at Louisville. They're back home for USC. Then they have Pitt coming to the house. They're at Clemson. Then they're off. Then Wake Forest and at Stanford. I'm going to say I can't agree with you here, and here's why.
They lose one game. They lose to Ohio State.
They lose to Ohio State, but you think Notre Dame comes to Memorial and beats Clemson?
Where?
It's at Clemson.
Yeah, I know. What'd you call it?
Memorial Stadium.
Oh, I thought you were going to call it Death Valley.
Well, I do,
Death
but
Valley
every time
too.
I call it Death Valley, you hit me in the head with
because it's not the real Death Valley.
Exactly.
You talked to LSU. That's where the real Death Valley is. Yeah, I think they win all their games except for Ohio State.
Texter said, how can Notre Dame and Ohio State make the playoffs? They play one another earlier. Easy. Ohio State beats Notre Dame and then either beats or loses to Michigan. Notre Dame loses to Ohio State, but wins out every other game because they do not have a conference championship. And, oh, by the way, they are Notre Dame. They get some style points just like teams out of the SEC do. So he's got Notre Dame at number 3. Let's move on to number 2.
Thank you for understanding my scenario without me explaining it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. I don't hate the pick. I think there's too much firepower lined up against Notre Dame with some sneaky good. Like, I think coming off the bye, if they're looking past Pitt at North Carolina or at Clemson, that's a dangerous game. I think if they are looking ahead to USC, Duke and Louisville back-to-back, those two teams love an upset. So we'll see. He's got Notre Dame at 3. I've got LSU at number 2. Great one. Give me your ACC champions. Give me the Seminoles of Florida State. I think Florida State drops one game, and I think that one game is at Clemson. Here's the problem. Clemson could slide into this spot. In fact, I almost last night wrote FSU/Clemson because I really do think that your conference championship is FSU Clemson, and I think the winner of that game is going to the playoffs, right? The winner of the ACC title goes to the playoffs. I just think the Noles and the Tigers split 1-1. I think Clemson is going to win the regular season game in Death Valley. I think they will be up for that game. It's not a trap game. It is early in the season, but it's 4 weeks in. It's deep enough that at that point, Cade and the offense should have figured itself out. So I think they will win it at the house. It is the Charlotte game that's the problem. And if Florida State, who will travel well, that'll be probably like a 60-40 Clemson lean of fans, but it'll be a neutral site game. If Florida State can win that ACC championship game, despite having lost to Clemson in the regular season, the what have you done for me lately factor pushed the Noles up. I got a 12-1 ACC championship Florida State Seminoles sliding into the 2 spot, Lonzo.
And I have Georgia at number 2, which will make it obvious who my number 1 is. But Georgia at number 2, Georgia undefeated all the way through. I predict we're going to have 2 undefeated teams at the top.
Here's the problem. I don't see Georgia winning the SEC championship game.
Yeah, well.
They will be an undefeated regular season team.
But I do.
That's fine.
So
that's fine. It's a good projection.
So we're talking about my pick. We're not talking about your pick.
Fair.
We're talking about my pick. Georgia's going to go undefeated, and they're going to be number 2. And they will go back and forth in rankings with the other team just from style points.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I think you will have figured out that Lonzo and I have, by the process of elimination, the same 2 teams at 1 and 4, just in opposite directions, which means that Rob Brown is going with a 13-0 Michigan Wolverines team. Now, I will tell you that of my 4, this one is the one I'm quite concerned about. Why? One game. Penn State. The whiteout game in Happy Valley I am concerned about. We have talked about this a lot. Color outs in the college football world don't work. Teams get caught up. I don't know why. They just do. Teams get caught up, except Penn State. That whiteout is the only color out game that I genuinely get nervous about. If Michigan can knock off Penn State in the whiteout game, I think they can get Ohio State in the regular season. It gives them the step up by winning the Big Ten as well, because who's going to beat them in the Big Ten championship game? Wisconsin? I don't think so. Michigan is the only undefeated team in college football this year. I have got them at 13-0, winning the Big Ten and claiming the number 1 overall spot, which means that if my predictions hold true, playoff game number 1 would be Michigan versus Ohio State in the opening round. Feed it directly into my veins. And if I'm right, it also means that the 2-3 matchup is also a rematch. Florida State v. LSU, round 2.
All right. So my number 1, obviously, if you haven't figured it out, is Ohio State. And here's what we're going to get. We're going to get Ohio State at number 1. We're going to get Georgia at number 2. We are going to get a rematch in the championship game. And Ohio State is going to get that victory back that they lost last year thanks to stinking worst kick in the history of mankind.
It really was.
And I think, to me, the most far-fetched thing that was said in this segment is Michigan going undefeated. But that's just me, I just, I really don't want to see that happen.
I know you don't. Like I said, I went looking like the first thing I wanted to do last night was see if I could come up with what teams realistically could go undefeated. And I don't see anybody. Everybody wants to lean on UGA.
I mean, that's the obvious choice. They've won 2 years in a row. That's the obvious choice. I am curious as we get closer, all the experts who they're predicting to win the whole thing. And I would say the consensus is probably going to be Georgia.
This is interesting. Joey B just said, no chance the committee keeps a 1-loss, 2-time defending champion out of the playoff. And if that is the case, Lonzo, and that's not a bad argument, honestly, it's really not. I think it's 100% going to come down to 2 things. Style point, strength of schedule, right? Here's the reality. Georgia's schedule is weak sauce this year, dude. Georgia might have the easiest schedule in the SEC. However, it is still an SEC schedule. Ohio State's schedule is not a whole heck of a lot better. I think it might very well come down to what team beats the hell out of the other teams better, who scores more points, etc. That being said, if Joey B is correct and the committee says, you know what, we got a 3-way tie, Georgia is back-to-back, not just defending national champion, back-to-back defending national champ. If that is the case, Lonzo, in my bracket, your Buckeyes would get bounced for Georgia to slide into the 4 seed, and we have 2 SEC teams. If you are correct and Georgia goes undefeated, it won't matter. And Michigan and Ohio State would likely still both be in, unless whoever plays Georgia out of the West in the SEC championship game is also undefeated and gives Georgia a hell of a game, say LSU or Alabama, in which case Michigan would likely fall out of your bracket and the runner-up in the SEC would slide into that spot.
All right, there's one major thing that you will have taken away from this entire segment, and it's that one team was missing from both of our sides.
Well, you will also notice, while you try to continuously throw me under the bus for this, that I said at number 2, I'm going Florida State, but then what was my caveat? That spot is, for me, technically Florida State / Clemson. If those two teams beat and lose only to each other, if either one of those 2 teams goes 2-0, they're in. If those 2 teams go 1-1, whoever wins the second game is in. If they go 1-1, if Clemson wins the first one and Florida State wins the second one, Florida State's in. If Florida State wins the first one and Clemson wins the second one, Clemson's in. If either team sweeps, that team is going. So I'm going Florida State because I got to pick one because we don't ride fences around here. But I'm going to go Florida State / Clemson. Your thoughts? You're welcome to send them in 71307. Start your text with fan. Give me your playoff 4. We'll read them when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. I was pushing that because I wanted to see if you would shoosh me.
As I stated earlier, I don't.
Only when you have to pee.
I don't do things. Yeah, and I don't have to pee.
Okay.
and I don't do things when expected. What's the fun in that? Yeah, I went at 20. If I hadn't gone at 20, then that would be different. Hour number 2, I always go at 40. So sometimes 44 when someone goes really late. Yeah, James, if he pump fakes before he hands the ball off, that's a whole new dimension right there. I mean, look out. If he does that, they will win the ACC and they will beat Florida State.
You know what? Joey B, you've convinced me. I'm going to drop Ohio State and move Georgia into 4. You've won me over, Joey B. I thought about it since you said it. I think you're spot on. I didn't pick up on that. I'm going to bounce OSU and put UGA into that spot, I think.
Your whole thing, your whole prediction is bogus because you picked Michigan to be number 1. I mean, that's just, well, no, not just in my eyes, in a lot of people's eyes. I mean, Michigan? I mean, come on, dude.
At ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Jim Gaffigan here with some.
So you're going Ohio State undefeated, correct?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Aggressive. You going Georgia undefeated?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Notre Dame undefeated?
No, 1 loss to Ohio State.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And Michigan, you're going 11-1. Lost to Ohio State in the regular season.
And because of that loss, Penn State's going to be they're going to be tough. There's got to be a way. I don't know.
They're all 3 in the same division. So whoever wins that round robin goes to the Big Ten title game and takes on probably Wisconsin. See, this is why I like that. This here, this is why I'm good with no more divisions. The 3 best teams in your conference are all in one division. So whoever wins that division is the Big Ten champion, and the other 2 are out in the cold. Whereas if you took the best 2 teams, they can play each other twice, and then you have a clear division champion.
So if I'm wrong, Michigan doesn't make the playoff. Oh, well. Wow, I feel really bad about that. Happy Ahsoka Day to you also, Keegan. Cannot wait till 6 o'clock. I hate that they but the best part about it is nobody else would have been able to see it before me. That's on here. Unless they got, like that secret thing where they get sent stuff.
P Digits said no Bama. No, I'm going to tell you, I think Bama's losing 2 this year. I think Bama's going to lose 2. I think LSU. Here's the thing. Even if they only lose 1, the one they lose is important because I think LSU gets Bama this year. And if LSU gets Bama, then that's a division championship game effectively, which eliminates Alabama from the SEC championship. And if the 2 teams that go for the championship are at the worst 11-1, at the best 12-0, each of them, Alabama's not going to overcome not being in the SEC championship game. So that's why I've got no Bama.
Pretty sure it's Eastern Standard Time, Keegan. Now you got me worried. Daggone it, you're right. That sucks. All right, so I guess I'll play some more Baldur's Gate till 9 o'clock. Stinking West Coast crap. It's ridiculous. I guess what you're doing, but it doesn't matter. I was going to say, so now it's in prime time on the East Coast, but how do they even tally anything when it comes to streaming anyway? Yeah, it's got to be hard on you, Keegan. I'm like on the opposite end of that.
So I'm going to tell you that Rob Brown changing his opinion on the fly does happen. And Joey B just did it. Joey B stepped up and said, no chance.
Fickle.
The committee keeps
Fickle.
a one-loss,
Fickle.
two-time defending champion out of the playoff. And I got to thinking about that. And I played the scenario out in my head, and I brought up the point that, look, Georgia might have the easiest schedule in the Southeastern Conference this year. Congratulations going back-to-back. You get the easiest schedule in the conference.
All right. So everybody on the stream and everybody on text line 71307, can you also change Rob's mind?
If you provide me with a good, rational, logical, thought-out argument, the answer is yes. There is nothing wrong with changing your mind. In fact, you should change your mind about things all the time.
Well,
you should change your mind on things constantly.
When it comes to football, it's just a prediction anyway, and you're not going to change my mind. So
that's totally fine.
Yeah.
He has changed my mind and therefore my prediction. I am going to respectfully.
I am like a stone.
See, I'm not. I don't want to be that. You know what else?
You can't paint the picture of, I made sure I was specific about football predictions. Not in life. I change my mind all the time in life, but I'm not going to change my mind.
But now
just
football!
Just because Joe changed your mind.
Great argument.
Well, okay. All right.
Here's what Joe said. He said, look, and I think he's right. If Georgia goes 12-0, which they will, and they go to the SEC championship game, which they will, and let's say they lose it, as I predict they will, to the LSU Fighting Tigers out of Baton Rouge, Red Stick, Louisiana. They'll be 12-1, and they will be runners-up in a conference. If Ohio State falls to Michigan in the regular season, as I have projected in this particular levy, if they lose, you know what they cannot do because they share a division with Michigan. They can't go play for a Big Ten championship, which means that Georgia will have a better record than Ohio State at 12-0 versus 11-1, or I should say 12-1 versus 11-1, and runners up in the most respected conference in college football, the Southeastern Conference. I think Joey B is right. I don't think there is any chance that Georgia gets left on the outside looking in if what I said I think happens, which is a 12-0 regular season, a run to the Southeastern Conference Championship, a loss to LSU. They are 12-1, and they would slide into me to that 4th spot, which means I would have Michigan at 13-0 versus 12-1 Georgia in the first round, FSU/Clemson at 12-1 versus LSU as the 2-3 game in the playoff bracket. I think I'm good. I'm locked in.
I don't want to be anything other than what I try to be lately. Way to carry that on.
Nailed it. All right, I'm flipping it up. I'm going Michigan 1, FSU 2, LSU 3, Georgia 4 with the caveat that FSU Clemson is a slash mark there. So it's really Michigan 1, FSU/Clemson 2, LSU 3, Georgia 4. Lonzo's going Ohio State 1, Georgia 2, Notre Dame 3, Michigan 4. Give me your top 4. Send them to me right now on the carpro.com text line 71307. Start your text with fan, and then give me your top 4 teams. We'll break down your top 4s when we come back. Sign your name so you get credit. Do your homework, all right? The Rob Brown Show continues after this on the Fan Upstate. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. James, this is the way to do radio depending on who you ask, right? If you say anything bad about my team, you hate my team, Paul! Paul, why are you always being a hater, Paul? That's really the context of an entire radio show. Very successful.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at
Also, it's the off season. Everyone's undefeated at this moment until this weekend, when some people won't be.
And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Hey, Mike, what are you doing there? Staring at the ceiling.
Oh, hi, Jen. Come check out the energy efficient.
Why in the world did I start singing that song? I don't know all the words either. I know more than he does, though.
Almost 75% of the total cost.
Wow, that's amazing. How'd you get them to do that?
It's easy. Just look up Duke Energy Smart Path program. Duke Energy can help cover the cost of energy efficient upgrades for your business. Visit duke-energy.com/smartpath today. This is for
I know, unless they tie.
the ones who believe.
I think, yeah, you can still tie in football. So some of them might win and lose. Although, unless it's soccer, then a tie is technically a win, I suppose. Still not going to convince me of that, but,
Y'all know I love me buying some sports jerseys from movies and television, right? I've got a I got a Bel Air Academy shirt. I got a Mighty Ducks jersey. Hang on. Y'all, the Polk High Al Bundy jersey, I feel like is a must purchase, right?
Yeah, but how many people will get it?
Don't care. It's for me.
That's what I want to say. Does it matter if people get it or not? Because admittedly, I didn't get it till I saw the back of the jersey. And I'm like, I know I should know this. And like, oh, okay, now I get it. There are people out there who have no idea what that show is. When's the last episode of that show air?
Oh, God. When did Married Children go off the air? Aired from 10 years, April 5th, 1987 to June 9th, 1997. First series to be broadcast in the primetime slot of Fox.
So 26 years ago, there are people out there who have never heard of the show.
And have kids. They are married with children.
Yes. And so does that factor in when you buy a shirt like that? Or is it like you said, you only care if you get it? And maybe you'll get a nod here or there from a couple people who do get it. See, there again, Chris Lewis. I said that trying to get Rob to actually look at the screen. He still didn't. How old is the program? I mean, that's pretty old too. So that released in September of 1993. The program did.
Okay.
I would love to get a couple of Ohio State jerseys. One from Johnny Utah.
So
and the other from Shane Falco. And I know they have those.
Do I so I think I've just come to the realization I have to replace that TV. I can't not replace that TV. I have to have that TV. So, and yesterday I got some quotes on fixing it, and it checked anywhere from like $250 to $500, which means
major gamble. So you might as well go ahead and buy a new one.
Right.
And you're upgrading no matter what if you buy a new one.
Correct.
Because of technology and all that kind of stuff. Since you pointed out how old that TV is.
Now, my question is, what's the first thing I watch on it? And I got to tell you,
Star Wars, Star Wars.
I think the program's high on that list.
See, I always, to test my sound, it's always Star Wars.
Is a good call.
Yeah, something Star Wars.
Something Star Wars is a good call.
Gable's in first break.
Gable's in the first break. And away we go with our numero dos, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Yeah! You know what's happening in this building right now? Right this very second?
Yeah, I do. It's a celebration that we can't go to.
Ladies and gentlemen, directly below our feet. Metaphorically, directly below our feet. Because right below our feet, there's a conference room right below our feet.
The boss is right below our feet.
No, I think he's...
Dude, we're on the corner. There's only one thing in the corner. The boss... Oh, no, you're right. He's over there.
We're over the traffic office.
Yeah, so no one's below our feet right now.
Metaphorically, directly below.
Unless they're having it. There's nothing in there, so maybe they're having the thing in there. It could be.
Metaphorically, directly below our feet is our company celebration for the sweep job that we did, the absolute domination of the Odyssey market at the South Carolina Broadcasters Association.
The leg of all of South Carolina radio.
Including, by the way, a trophy awarded to this very show.
This show? We won something?
Well, really, both shows won something, for the record.
That's true.
But the best sports talk radio show of the year award resides right here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. And they are having a celebration downstairs, which includes cake.
Did you loan them the jacket?
No.
Okay, all right.
They literally made this celebration happen while you and I are in the... And by the way, it ends at noon.
Yeah, at noon.
It ends at noon.
It ends at noon. Yeah, you're right.
They knew. Now, we move our company parties around the day parts throughout the year so everybody can join it, because we can't really do them all at like 7 p.m. because the folks who have the early morning shows, they can't stay out till midnight. So sometimes you do them in the lunchtime hours. But if you do them in the lunchtime hours, the folks who have lunch gigs, they can't show up. So sometimes you do them in the mornings, and then people like us can't show up. But I got to tell you the fact that there's a cake downstairs that we can't have.
All right. So this is just biased towards the other half of the building, where their morning show and stuff, which, love Hawk and Tom, by the way, they won. So they're going to be the only people down there. Nobody else is going to be. I mean, maybe Tara goes down there, but Charlie's not here. This is for salespeople. That's what it is. This is just so salespeople can have cake. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with any of us. They just wanted the salespeople to have cake.
I don't want it to be sad and lonely down there.
Since they didn't get to come to the thing. See, that's what it is. They didn't get to come to the South Carolina Broadcasters Association Star Awards. So in order for them to celebrate also, they get cake. We get trophies. Enjoy your cake.
One time they celebrate talent. One time they celebrate talent. And then they're like, what if we give the cake to the sales staff?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's all
By the way, I'm very joking. I love our sales staff. All right, just so we're clear.
We're really just trying. We are pining.
I really just want them to leave us some cake.
We are pining away to get a cake sponsorship. That's what we're doing.
I would take the official cake.
Listen, we can taste the different cake every Friday, and we'll put that cake over. If you don't know what that means, we'll explain it to you later. But we
need an official cake of the Rob Brown Show.
No, we need a cake company to provide cake every Friday.
Listen,
so we can get customers into your cake store. Please contact Odyssey of Greenville and say you want to sponsor this show with a cake of the week, or pie. I'm good with pie also. Maybe a cake and pie.
If there's one thing you can trust Rob and Lonzo not to BS about, it's food. We're sturdy boys. All right. I want to keep going. I'm looking for your college football playoff top 4 projections. Send them to me, 71307 on the carpros.com text line, 71307.
Poof.
Give me your final 4 projections, and we will read and break them down on the air. Here's a few texts that have come in so far. Texter said Lincoln Riley and a hotshot quarterback ain't changing the record of Oklahoma. 11-3 last year and a loss to a bowl game to Tulane. Lincoln Riley and a hotshot quarterback ain't changing USC's record in 2023. Now, see, I disagree with you. You do have the odds-on favorite for Heisman. Not that he's going to be a winner, but the odds-on favorite for the Heisman Trophy. And Lincoln's had a year to get his boys in the program now. Remember, last year was Lincoln Riley's first year, and unlike Dion, he didn't kick 7 guys off the squad, right? So now he's got Lincoln guys. He had a bad USC program that he took over, and with a taken-over program, he went 11-3. And by the way, the losses that they had last year, including that Tulane one in the bowl game was a bad loss. But let's not pretend like dubs and L's in a bowl game. Like, if you win a bowl game, great, celebrate. But if you lose a bowl game, who the hell cares, right? Like, bowl games are just glorified scrimmages at this point. The losses last year were at the Utah Utes. That's a good Utah program. Do you remember what Utah did last year? They won the conference. It's a good Utah program. It's not an awful loss. You took an L. Who was the other team they lost to? Oh, that's right. Utah in the conference championship. Again, that is a good Utah program. And by the way, Kyle Whittingham might be the best coach in the Pac-12. He is the longest tenured coach in the Pac-12 right now, the second longest tenured head coach at the same school in NCAA FBS. Kyle Whittingham's good. Utah's good. They dropped 2 of those 3 to the same team, and the third one was a loss to Tulane by a single point, by the way, in Texas. And again, bowl games. I don't care about this, but I put the same emphasis on bowl game scores as I do on preseason NFL games. Are we going to talk about them? Sure. Do they matter? Only in as much as 14, who scored the 14? All right, the first team scored 3. And the rest were all scored by the backups. Well, I can read into different things there. I'm not worried about it. Texas said, Rob, my son Thurston was in the car and heard you say you can't do anything you want to. He wanted to be president and win the Nobel Peace Prize. You just crushed his dreams.
All right, first of all, ain't nobody believing this because no one names their son Thurston.
Except if you watched a lot of Gilligan's Island, I guess.
Which you could have. I mean, that series will live on forever. But come on, your son Thurston?
Thurston Howell III.
The third. Yes, that's right.
The millionaire and his wife.
If Thurston Howell III was alive right now, how much money would he be worth?
Here's the real question. Ginger or Marianne?
Yes. That is always the answer. I mean, you people with your either or stuff.
Lonzo, I've never been more proud of you except for your Rob Gronkowski promo. Ginger or Marianne? Yes. Good answer. Texas said, how can Notre Dame and Ohio State make the playoffs? They play one another. Hey, you can go in with one loss. The only key is, now, say this. If Ohio State loses to Notre Dame, they have to win the division and the conference.
Yeah, and it would have been it'd be an early loss. So either team would have time to come back from that.
It'd be an early enough loss, but if you lose that game, either team, you have to go undefeated. And I will even go one step further and say if Notre Dame loses that game to Ohio State, I don't think they can get in because of the not having a conference championship game to boost it up a little bit, right? I think if you're going to be in the playoffs this year, after having put together my 4, tinkered with my 4, changed my 4, I think I am going to come to the realization, the conclusion, you have to have 12 wins to be in the playoffs this year. I'm not saying you have to be undefeated, but you do have to have 12 wins. If you don't have a conference championship, you will have to be an undefeated perfect season team. I don't think you can have 11 wins and go. If you lose one in the regular season, you will have to win a conference championship. If you win the conference championship and go undefeated, you're in. If you go 11-1 and win a Power 5 conference, I think there's a very good chance that you're in, depending on how it all plays out. So we'll see. Texter said, Lonzo is spot on with Notre Dame. I will be at the Notre Dame v. Suckeyes game. I will rush the field when we upset.
All right, that's not going to happen. Ohio State's going to be the only team to beat Notre Dame. But if you want to rush the field anyway, go ahead. Try not to get arrested, though.
We don't play with that anymore, Jack.
Yeah.
Even the SEC said no mas.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. It never made sense to me anyway.
We canceled rushing the field.
Let's all go down there and have a mass of human beings who cannot move. How's that fun?
It's fun.
It is not. There's no way that's fun.
It's fun. I've never rushed the field. I've rushed the court.
I prefer to be on the field playing and then leave the field when after my victory.
Right, but it turns out you're not on the team, so
yeah, right. Which is why
players love.
You're
field
right.
goals.
You're right. I'm not on the team.
Winning players.
So why should I be on the field? That's a great point.
Because I'm still on the team, even if I'm not on the team.
Hey,
it's us, unless they lose, and then it's they, them.
Hey, we just won a championship here on the show. I don't want you rushing the studio. I mean, no.
Unless you have donuts.
Or cake.
Texas said, my Final Four, Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and you suck, a.k.a. the real USC. And he put real in all caps, just so you're clear. Little SoCal love, I assume.
Also, he did all that, and you're still not sure if he really meant Southern Cal.
No, here's what. Okay. If somebody says the real USC, they're a Clemson fan.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
That's how it. That's just how in the 3 years I've been here. If someone says the real USC, they are 99% of the time a Clemson fan.
Because for some reason they think that's funny, and that's gonna hurt.
Listen, anything
followed by burn, yeah.
Just write down when you said that because I have a soundboard to fill up, and
soon followed by your mom.
10, 12 a.m. So that's 2 hours and 12 minutes. Okay, perfect. Got it. Texas said, I'm going out on a limb and picking Ole Miss to win the SEC. Texter, do me a favor. First off, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for listening to the show. You mean the world to me. And that is why I'm about to say what I'm about to say. It comes from a place of love. Whatever it is that you are smoking, drinking, or snorting, I need you to stop, okay? I need you to put it down and walk away. And I know it's going to be uncomfortable for you up front, but I promise you, your life will be better when you get rid of whatever substance it is that made you pick up a phone and text the words, Ole Miss to win the SEC.
If you're not going to say no, then you should know when to say when.
Yeah. Everything in moderation. All right. When you get to the point that you're saying crazy things like Ole Miss to win the SEC, you have gone past the point of moderation. Listen, Rob Brown is a big fan of the imbibery, without a doubt. But if I'm ever at a bar and I've had enough whiskey to go, Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin gonna win the SEC, then whatever I'm drinking, take it from me, slap me in the face, throw some ice water on me, and put me in an Uber and get my ass home, because clearly I've had too much.
No, I think this came from downstairs where they ate too much of our cake. Too much of our cake.
Too much cake will do it.
Yes.
Texas said Georgia will likely have at least 3 wins over top 25 ranked teams and likely a win or 1 loss against a top 5 in the SEC championship. Look, I think Georgia is undefeated in the regular season. This is why I put Georgia back on to my playoff 4. I started the show with Ohio State 4. I am ending it with Georgia 4. Now, that being said, let's take a look at the 2023 Georgia schedule. More importantly, let's take a look at where some of the teams might be at the time that they played Georgia, right? Auburn is, well, let me take that back. Let's start with South Carolina. South Carolina, Lonzo, is sitting just outside the top 25. They're like 27, right? They are playing in week number 1, the Tar Heels of North Carolina. North Carolina is currently sitting at number 21. Lonzo, if the Gamecocks beat the Tar Heels in week 1,
Win.
they will be a top 25 football team when they play Georgia a couple of weeks later, right? So that's a potential for a top 25 win for Georgia.
When they beat North Carolina.
Okay. Again, hope you're right.
So right now we're doing our predictions for a Boo Box bets. Not saying we're doing that, but if we were right now, this day, you're picking North Carolina over South Carolina.
Yes.
I am not.
South Carolina currently sits 27th with 73 votes. Texas Tech is ahead of them. So is Iowa, Tulane, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and North Carolina. I'm going to go ahead and call the shot. Tulane's going to be fun to watch. They're not going to be what they were last year. Texas A&M's a cult. They're going to fall off. Even though they made the biggest fix they can make, which is take the play calling duties away from Jimbo Fisher, and hand them to Bobby Petrino, Texas A&M is still just going to get out-talented, out-muscled a few times. They're going to fall off. South Carolina beats North Carolina. They are a top 25 team in week 2. I'll go ahead and call that shot now. So that would be a top 25 win for Georgia. Then they're at Auburn. Auburn's a little ways outside the top 25. I don't see a path for Auburn to be ranked when Georgia beats them. And they will at Jordan-Hare Stadium. After that, Kentucky? I mean, again, like Kentucky looks better than they've looked in years past, but is Kentucky a win that blows you away if you're Georgia? Not really. Florida's not ranked. Missouri's not ranked. There's Ole Miss, and then there's Tennessee back-to-back. I am looking at maximum 3 top 25 wins. Now, 3 top 25 wins is good. That is why I moved Georgia into the 4 spot. Because if they go 12-0 with 3 top 25 wins, unless they just get absolutely, pardon the pun, dog-walked in the SEC championship game, an undefeated SEC schedule will get you in. If you go undefeated in the regular season in the SEC, you will get in. That's why Georgia sneaks in and takes that spot from Ohio State. Because even if Ohio State, or Michigan, because I think whoever wins that regular season game, I think both of those teams are going to beat Penn State. Both of those teams beat Penn State. Whoever loses the regular season game is 11-1, cannot play for a conference title. Therefore, they are going to be out. There's no going in at 11-1. You will have to have 12 wins this year to get in. But I do think there's enough there to move Georgia into that spot. Texas said number 1, LSU. Number 2, Clemson. Number 3, Michigan. Number 4, USC. LSU, Clemson, Michigan, USC.
Wow.
I don't hate those.
What an unwatchable playoff that would be. It'd be time to
Why would it be unwatchable?
It'd be time to move on to basketball.
How in the hell would that be unwatchable?
That's so bad. So bad.
LSU with Jaden Daniels taking on Cade Klubnik and Clemson.
Not happening.
Michigan, if they get there, will be undefeated.
This is
USC's got a Heisman Trophy runner in Lincoln Riley. That's not unwatchable.
This is trolling. That's what this is.
Yes, you are trolling.
No,
entirely.
No, they're trolling me.
Excellent trolling.
There is no one out there who actually believes that could be the fun. No, this is trolling. Good job.
All right, hang on.
You talked about the person earlier who might have been imbibing too much. This is trolling. This is not realistic.
It's really not.
It's not realistic.
All right, let's look at it. Number 1, LSU. I've got LSU in my playoff spot. There's nothing wrong with that pick. Number 2, Clemson. I have said my number 2 team in the playoff is FSU/Clemson. If one team sweeps that, they go.
Talk about not being able to commit.
Wins.
Either or, man. Pick a team, dude.
I just did. FSU or Clemson. The ACC champion. How's that? The ACC champ is my number 2 team.
All right, that makes it a little bit.
Which will be FSU or Clemson.
Yeah, whatever.
Number 3, Michigan. I have them in my number 1 spot, so that's reasonable. And number 4, USC. A team with a highly touted head coach. A team with the Heisman Trophy favorite at quarterback. A team with a wide receiver room that is one of the best 3 or 4 in the country. A team with a defense that I think is going to be very good this year. That is a fine Fine playoff for. Texture said, at least you didn't say buttload in front of Thurston. That's from Dan, the Marianne man. First off, good on you for taking a side. Second off, good on you for being an old Southern boy who says Marianne's the right answer. Lonzo had the best answer, which is yes, C, all of the above. But yes, we don't say words like buttload in front of the kids because there are some kids who aren't allowed to say the word butt. They're going to get beat up, but they're not allowed to say it. All right, over on the stream, let's see some of the stream thoughts before we get up out of here for this segment. James Butler checks in, said, my Final Four, Georgia, Utah, Oregon, and Michigan. 2 Pac-12 teams. I don't see it, big dog. I don't see it. I don't hate it. I think Utah or Oregon would be a good pick, but I don't see 2 Pac-12 teams going. I think if any conference is going to have 2, it's either the SEC or the Big Ten, right? Maybe the ACC if Clemson and Florida State split and both games are like 1 or 2 point games, right? If the first game's like 27-24 and the second game's like 27-24, but the results flipped, maybe the ACC gets 2. But if there is a conference, because only one conference will get 2. If there is a conference that's going to get 2, it's either the SEC. Actually, you know what, Lonzo? I take it back. If a conference is going to get 2, it's either the SEC or the ACC. Honestly. The SEC, because it's going to be either Georgia from the East and LSU or Alabama from the West. The ACC, because there's no divisions. So you could have 2 teams, Florida State and Clemson predominantly, that could split the results and go. I think the Big Ten gets screwed by having Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State all in one division. Inconceivable. If you round robin those 3 games, I could see the Big Ten not finding a way to get 2 teams in.
Nope.
They did last year. I don't know if they could go back to back. That's an interesting thought. Let's see here. James popped in, said my Final Four, Georgia, Bama, LSU, Tennessee, because SEC.
Nope.
All right. And then James pops up and says, if Drake May is as good as advertised. Oh, he is. He is as good as advertised. Question is, are the rest of the heels built well enough around him? If they're not, the Gamecocks are going to win that game. I'm just leaning, slightly, like 55-45 to the heels. Also, how are y'all going to travel to this game? Is this a North Carolina home game? Or were the Gamecocks? They showed the hell up in the bowl game last year. Shane was talking about it on this show, 3 months later? If South Carolina fans show up and take away that home field advantage, that could change the game. Let's take a break. Your playoff 4 still wanted, still welcome on the show, but we will shift up the conversation a little bit when we come back. College football coaches facing the hot seat this year. I'll give you a list of a few. We'll look at some of the biggest weaknesses for the contenders that we have listed so far, and we will do that next. My name is Rob Brown. He's the sheriff of sports talk. This is the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, I got a live read here. Stay there. We'll be right back.
last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Yeah, James, as a master troll, I recognize when I'm being trolled.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Sponsored by Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric.
At Corley Plumbing, Air, and Electric, we offer flexible financing options with low monthly payment to meet your needs. Call Corley Plumbing, Air, and Electric today or book online. CorleyPro.com. That's CorleyPro.com.
The nationally ranked Furman Paladins opened the 2023 season on Thursday night, August 31st at Paladin Stadium against Tennessee Tech. Hi, everybody. Dan Scott, voice of the Paladins here, inviting you to join David Cobb, Marcus McMorris, Tom Van Hoy, and me as we bring you all the action of the season opener right here on the Fan Up State. Pregame begins at 5:30 p.m., kickoff at 7 p.m. Furman, Tennessee Tech, August 31st, right here on the Fan Up State.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app.
Brandon popped into the stream and asked the question, how does Clemson make it after getting beat by South Carolina? The answer is, well, they won't.
They won't.
Unless.
There ain't no unless.
There is an unless.
Unless Carolina is ranked really high, maybe.
If Carolina is ranked, which maybe they will be, maybe they won't at the end of the year. We'll see. Even if they're not. If that is to be the case, Clemson will then have to beat FSU twice. They will have to go undefeated the rest of the regular season, including Florida State, and they will have to beat Florida State a second time in the ACC championship. Now, I am going to say this. If either Clemson or Florida State does not make the ACC championship game, Lonzo, it will be declared a failure. It will be a failure for both of them. The ACC is going to be the best this conference has been in a very long time. Maybe ever. I stand by that. I stand on that. I'll find out at the end of the year.
Yeah, we'll see, because I a lot of disbelief over on this side.
I can tell you have not made that a secret. I think the ACC is going to be the best it's been in a long time, perhaps the best that has ever been in football. That being said, Clemson and Florida State are still the two front runners, without a doubt. I have been on an unending quest to get as much preseason football in my brain as I can. I cannot recall off the top of my dumb head anyone picking anyone but FSU or Clemson to win the ACC. And I will say, of that group, about 70% of the talking heads are picking Clemson. About 30% are picking FSU, and about 0% are picking anybody else. To the point that I can't recall, and again, I'm not saying it hasn't happened, I can't recall anybody picking North Carolina. And a lot of us think North Carolina is going to be pretty good this year, but nobody seems to be picking the heels. It's either Clemson or FSU. If either of those teams fails to make an ACC championship this year, I will absolutely declare it a failure of a season. I will declare that for Dabo's team. I will declare that for Norvell's team. And I will also tell you, it'd do a lot of damage to both of these programs, right? To make it, I'm not saying to win it, to make the ACC championship game. Because if Clemson does not make the ACC championship game, I think at this point, we would all lean back and go, the ACC has caught Clemson, or Clemson has fallen back to the pack, one or the other, right? I will think the former, that the ACC is caught up. But it would do some damage. If Florida State does not make the ACC championship game with all of the hype surrounding them, the fact that they are an AP top 10 team to start the season for the first time since, 2014? If Florida State fails to make it, The thing that has propped them up to this point, which is, of course, the transfer portal, and the fact that Norvell has worked it brilliantly. They needed a defensive back. They went and got the kid from Virginia. They needed a tight end. They brought in Jaheim Bell. They needed offensive linemen. They brought in a few of them. If Norvell shows that if you transfer into Florida State and then you do not take home an ACC tournament championship, an ACC football championship from it, what's the point of transferring to Florida State, right? NIL money, maybe. But outside of that, what's the point? Why would you transfer to FSU and still be a non-conference champion? So I genuinely do believe that if either Florida State or Clemson fails to make it to the ACC title game this year, I think it would be absolutely fair to say it will be a failure for those two teams, A. And I think it would be fair to say it would be a disaster, genuinely disastrous for those two teams. So if Clemson was to fall to South Carolina, they can still absolutely go to the playoff, but it will require them to go 2-0 against the Seminoles of Florida State. The regular season mid-September dub, and they would, by necessity, have to knock off FSU in the ACC championship game as well. So there's a path. But as I pointed out, Lonzo, I think every team in the playoff has to have 12 wins this year. I just think you have to. I don't think you can have 11 and go. And I think that is why the Big Ten can only get one team in this year, because they can only have one team that can go 12 wins. You can be 11-1 in the regular season and win the Big Ten and get to 12. You can go 12-0 in the regular season, lose the Big Ten championship, and probably still get a chance to go, although it will be damaging because whoever comes out of the other division in the Big Ten will not be on the level of Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State.
So throughout this year, as we have these conversations, this is the last time we're having these conversations.
Doesn't it feel so good?
Yes, it's the last time.
I mean, it's not. We got 3 more days this week, but
no,
you get it.
No, next year we're going to have all new conversations because it's not going to be a 4-team anymore. It's going to be a 12. And things are, have you even thought of how we're going to address that? How you're going to address that when it comes to 12? I mean, a totally different perspective, a totally different way of having to look at everything next year. So it's the last time we're going to be talking about this year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Once this week is over, we're kind of done with the, or at least the way that this is, set up, yeah. Like the way this is set up.
Then it's going to be more about who the top 4 teams are in each conference.
Yep. It will. It'll be picking your conference champions that are going to go, and then the best of the rest. So you're right. You're not wrong. This is going to be interesting. This does kind of this is going to, I think, change the way that we look at these types of conversations. So anyway, we have given you our top 4. Lonzo's going top of my head. Michigan checks in the 4 spot. They lose the regular season game to The Ohio State University, but they are 11-1, and they backdoor in. He's got Notre Dame at number 3 with 1 loss as well, 2 11-1 teams, as he is going with the Irish to lose to the Buckeyes in the regular season, but also backdoor their way in. Does Notre Dame go ahead of Michigan because they lose to Ohio State earlier in the year? It feels like that's
yeah,
that
and
shapes
then they end up progressively getting better as the year goes.
Also means that Michigan has to beat Penn State at the whiteout. He's got Georgia at number 2, an undefeated Georgia Bulldogs 13-0 with an SEC championship in hand. And he's got the Buckeyes of Ohio State also 13-0 with a Big Ten championship in hand. Rob is going Georgia gets in at 12-1. They will be undefeated in the regular season, but they will fall in the SEC championship game to a much more battle-tested LSU. I've got LSU checking in at number 3 at 12-1. I've got Florida State at 12-1 and the ACC champions with the parentheses right next to them of Clemson as well. Whatever one of those teams ends up at 12-1, regardless of who the one is, whoever ends up at 12-1 will go to the number 2 spot out of the ACC. And I've got an undefeated Michigan Wolverines team at 13-0 checking in at the number 1 spot. The teams that I did not put in, but I was very close to putting in. I was very close to putting in USC. I do think USC is going to be that good. I also was very close to putting in Washington, because if anybody's going to threaten USC in the Pac-12, it'll be Washington. I could 100% get on board with Utah making it as well. If Utah does what Utah did last year to USC, I don't think they will. But if they do, I could see Utah slipping in there at the back end. And then, of course, the University of Alabama must be mentioned. Again, that early November game between LSU and Alabama, it is in Tuscaloosa. If Alabama wins that game, in fact, I might even go with a double parentheses here. If Alabama beats LSU in the regular season, you can take LSU out of the 3 spot and plug Alabama. I think whoever wins the SEC West is going to end up in the playoffs. Whoever wins that game will be undefeated throughout the rest of the SEC West. I do get concerned for LSU with a Florida State and Alabama matchup. Here's the thing. If LSU wins both of those games, they're 100% going. If Alabama splits those 2 games, they will have to beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. It will not be an option. Because, again, you're going to have 12 to go this year. Let's see here. Joey B pops in to the stream chat, which you can watch at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, by searching and subscribing to the Fan Upstate on YouTube, or by getting at the Rob Brown Show on Twitch. Joey B said, I think Clemson, Florida State, Notre Dame all beat each other and keep each other out. Notre Dame loses to Ohio State and USC. FSU loses to LSU and Clemson in the ACC championship. Clemson loses to Notre Dame and FSU in the regular season. See, I would flip the FSU Clemson games. I think the result is still the same. If FSU loses to LSU, same story. They will have to go undefeated in the regular season, including 2 against Clemson. Regular season and ACC championship game. If Clemson loses to South Carolina, they will have to go 2-2 or 2-4-2 against FSU, and they will have to knock off Notre Dame as well. The good news is, Joey B, Notre Dame is coming down to Clemson this year. The bad news is Notre Dame's going to be better this year. I don't have an issue with Lonzo putting Notre Dame into the playoffs. Marcus Freeman has gotten rid of the first-year jitters. Sam Hartman, as far as I am concerned, is a really good dark horse bet to win the Heisman. Like a long shot dark horse. Like throw $100 at him, and if he wins, you're drinking good whiskey for a few weeks. It's called a slider, and Lonzo's very good at it. Back after this to wrap up hour 2 of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Blam, 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 blam. All right, guys, give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
Does your knee pain keep getting worse? How about that pain in your shoulder or hip or back? Well, don't let them tell you steroids and surgery are your only option.
Oh, man.
Right now and call QC Kinetics. Hey, it's Rob. Listen, QC Kinetics can make that pain go away with all natural advanced regenerative medicine, and they're helping people here every day with these amazing natural treatments that restore and repair damaged joint tissue. It's like turning back the clock. Regenerative medicine.
Well, technically, the season starts this week. So
Yes, it does. Week 0, baby.
You have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your
just a reminder that I'm on vacation next week.
Yes.
He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898. If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay. Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's.
Baker Mayfield has won the starting quarterback job.
Missing your NFL team's out-of-market games? Not a great plan. A much better plan? Switch to my
Are you surprised?
No, not even a little.
Or is that a sign that they're just not going to be? Never had great expectations anyway. But hey, Keegan, don't get on me, dude. If I mean, you know, when you've been here 23 and a half years, you get vacations. I'm maxed out. They won't give me any more, but I get one vacation per quarter. And I also work in 2 in the last quarter because, you know, skill.
As the official cliche hater of the Odyssey Network, I hate that cliche too. If you do what you love, you'll never work a day. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Because I promise you, there's a day when you're going to wake up and go, you know, I just like, I love steak, but if I ate steak 25 days in a row, it'd eventually be like, I don't want a steak right now. If I worked this job 25 days in a row and I go, I want a break from my job, do you think my boss is going to be like, just don't show up tomorrow? You're good. Stay home.
And, you know, it is a staycation for me, by the way. And it's not,
Lonzo just does yard work on his vacation.
Well, hopefully I can again. I'm seeing improvements on day 2 after the medication. So, and I'm way behind on that. The other thing I do is I unplug. There's a lot of stress involved with radio. A lot of egos, including my own, that you have to deal with. And, you know, sometimes you just need to go in the woods where there's peace and quiet and squirrels and raccoons, possums.
All right, final hour of the show is going to be non-college football because we've done 2 hours of it almost. But we're not going to do the last segment on it. Why? Because I came across the story this morning that I have to bring up. There's a story going around right now about a customer on a flight. This young lady was taking a 13-hour flight. And because of her loyal standing with one particular airline that shall remain unmentioned, she was awarded a free upgrade to first class. 13-hour flight. Well, she arrived at the airport. She got on the flight. And she said about an hour into the 13-hour flight, a flight attendant approached her and asked if she would be willing to switch seats with a 10-year-old boy who was flying economy class. Why? Because the boy's parents were in first class. See, they booked 3 tickets. The 2 tickets that they had were upgraded to first class as well. But they only upgraded the 2 because they were 3 independent tickets. So the parents said, that's easy enough. We'll just switch somebody from first class back into economy so that our 10-year-old child can come sit first class. So the flight attendant walked up to this lady and was like, hey, you're sitting by yourself. You're the only individual flyer in first class. Would you mind switching seats with the boy back in economy so he can sit with his parents? And in trade for that, we will give you a free upgrade to first class on another flight. And the lady said, no, I'm not switching seats. I'm in first class. I'm not leaving first class to go to economy for the next 12 hours of my life. And she said, now this is a story that was posted on Reddit, but the Daily Mirror out of the UK has run with the story. She said that the rest of first class began to judge her and make snide comments to her for not being willing to give up her seat so that this 10-year-old kid could come sit with his parents. And I would just like to say very clearly, very publicly, screw everybody else in first class. Absolutely not. If it is that important to you that 10-year-old boy come fly first class, that's wonderful. One of you 2 parents, go in the back, find an economy passenger sitting next to that kid, and switch with them. Hey, we would like to give you one of our first class seats so that I can sit next to my child back here in economy. Is that okay? I promise you, it'd have been very easy to get one of the 2 people sitting in economy to give up their seat to a first class upgrade so you can sit with your kid. The audacity, the entitlement of these parents to think that somebody in first class should give up their seat and move back to economy so that their kid could come sit first class is hysterically stupid to me.
This is a scheme. This is a scam. They did this on purpose, thinking that they could play on the heartstrings of somebody, save some money, and get their kid back there where they were.
100%.
Yeah, that's no. Keep your seat,
100%.
lady.
The lady said that, first and foremost, sending the flight attendant to ask for you is a coward's move.
Yeah, it's kind of a first class move,
Yeah.
isn't it? I mean, that's what you
want to
do if you're in
have the
first class.
rocks to ask somebody in first class to go sit economy so your 10-year-old can be more comfortable. You do it yourself. Second off, for the record, no is a complete sentence. Well, why what? No. I don't need to give you a reason. No. I'm not going to economy so your kid is more comfortable. You want to sit by your kid? Take one of your, hell, take both of your seats, go back there and find the 2 people next to the kid and ask them both to go to first class. They'll both say yes. I guarantee it. If I was flying with a fiance and some guy came up and was like, hey, can I switch with one of you to go to first class? I'd be like, Courtney, go to first class. Go enjoy this flight. I'll see you when we land. 100% I'd be well on board with that. This is the most ridiculous and hilarious entitlement I have ever heard of from a parent. Hilarious. Take a break. When we come back, we got a bunch of NFL stories to get to, a couple of baseball stories and more on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
The pads are about to pop.
Pop.
A wellness report sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE at Progressive.com. We'll start with baseball. Rays shortstop Wander Franco has been placed on administrative leave until further notice while MLB conducts an investigation into allegations. Franco had a inappropriate relationship with a minor. The Phillies continue their series with the Giants tonight at Citizens Bank Park. Bryce Harper with an inside-the-park home run. Last night's 10-4 win over San Francisco, and clicks his heels and says there's no place like home.
You know, anytime you're able to play at home in front of your fans in any given spot, that's where you want to be, and we love.
There's another reference that a lot of people wouldn't get anymore.
What's that?
Clicking your heels and saying there's no place like home. There used to be a tradition before it was streaming and all that stuff where Wizard of Oz would play once per year on regular TV. And we always watched it.
I have seen The Wizard of Oz probably 20 times in my life. I could not tell you when the last time was.
Right. Same here.
Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems. And if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember,
I did not, Kevin.
Lou, he's like
There's some places where I will not go. And that's an airplane because I'm never getting on one. So I can't lead a scam on an airplane when I'm not on it. Although that would be the best way to do a scam, knowing that you're never going to be on there and it's never going to happen to you, I suppose.
For the record, I have been asked to switch seats on airplanes. And if it's like there's a process to making the decision. If I'm in a middle seat and you ask me to flip to an aisle seat or a window seat, I will take the aisle. I don't necessarily want to take the window. And the reason, depending on the length of the flight. If I'm flying from like here to Fort Walton, where it's like an hour and 45-minute flight, sure, I'll take a window. I don't care. I would either have the window or the aisle, then the middle. If you ask me to flip from an aisle or a window to the middle, the answer is no. The answer is just no. It's just not happening. If you ask me to go from economy to first class, absolutely no questions asked. I'm gone. See ya. If you ask me to go first class to economy, not a chance in hell. Zero. I will also say I have flown first class one time. And the only time I ever flew first class was because the plane I was on was overbooked and somebody did not show up for their first class flight. And I'm going to give you the biggest piece of advice as an air traveler that I've ever given. And I roll with this forever. When you get to your gate, go talk to the gate agent and be a sweetheart. Be a doll. Kiss up. Be nice. Be polite. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. Please. Thank you. Just say hi. Hi, my name's Rob. I'm just checking in. Wanted to make sure we're all good. Yada, yada, yada. Be nice. Tell her she looks beautiful. Tell him he's a stud. Whatever you got to tell him. They remember that. And if and when it comes upgrade time and they got open seats, you will always go to the front of that list. 100%. Because they deal with so much crap every day from people who, for whatever reason, get into an airport and lose their damn minds that somebody coming up and just being polite to them is the biggest change of pace.
By the way, Kevin, that's the funniest thing you've ever said. I'm gonna say in your entire life, that is the funniest thing that you've ever said and very accurate. QC in the first break.
QC in the first break.
Whether it's having the best location, hiring top talent, or spotting trends before they happen. And now, the United States Postal Service can give your business a new advantage. Introducing USPS Ground Advantage. Reliable and affordable 2 to 5 day package shipping. It's the advantage you need at the price you want. Get the Ground Advantage at USPS.com/advantage. United States Postal Service, delivering for America.
Yeah, but I won't be here next week. You're going to get the second best hair. Not the best. Hair in the building. Because best hair in the building is right here. It's not that guy that's going to be in for me next week. That guy's hair is okay. Mine is better. And Rob may, tell him that he has the best hair in the building. That's because he's here and he's just trying to be nice to him. But he knows that I got the best hair. Me.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is the Fan Upstate. How do y'all welcome in? Great to have you once again. I am Rob Brown. On the other side of the metaphorical glass this AM, he is the professor of perfection, the sultan of swag, the wizard of wave, the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate, the sheriff of sports talk himself. The great one, Lonzo's on the board and looks very perplexed right now.
It's either a gerbil or a guinea pig on like a mini Vespa, and he's trying to hang on, and he like runs into a wall. It's a very slow speed, but it's just like, okay, why is he holding on?
Okay.
So I went from puppies to kittens to now guinea pigs, which I guess I'm okay with. Sorry, it just
your Twitter and my Twitter are very different Twitters.
Is that a bad thing?
No.
I mean, I bet they overlap a little bit, but you're on Twitter and I'm on X. So
here's what I've got. The last three stories on mine. Titans signed Michael Bagley, cut one of their other kickers. On this day in 1989, Nolan Ryan struck out Ricky Henderson for his 5,000th career strikeout. He's still the only pitcher to reach that milestone. 11 days until Gamecock football. This day will always be reserved for number 11. Here's Steven Garcia finding Kenny McKinley for 6 in the 27-6 win over Tennessee. And update, Titans rookie quarterback Will Levis signed a lifetime deal with Hellman's Mayonnaise, followed by our buddy at Cold Take Jim saying, your move, Dukes. And I would just like to say that Dukes, if you would like to sign me to a lifetime contract with Dukes Mayonnaise, I'm all on board for it. And let's be real, in 2 to 3 years, I'll have the same popularity level as Will Levis.
All right.
So,
Rob will only do it if he can sign it from the Dukes plant down the road. Out in the plant where they're making it without protective gear.
Yeah.
That's how he's gonna do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
I sent you that video of that thing, by the way, just cause so you could see why all right. My last three is the Lake Show, practicing. Let's see, running back Jonathan Taylor is at Eagles Colts joint practice after the team allowed Taylor to seek permission to find trade. And finally, I don't know if that's me looking at the torrential rain from Hurricane Hillary when the LA earthquake alert just popped up. So it's a meme because there was an earthquake and torrential rains at the same time in California.
Yeah, by the way, my favorite thing that was going on yesterday is these pictures started going around at Dodger Stadium, and it was like, oh my God, it's underwater. It's not. The parking lot had about 2 inches, but because of the way the picture was taken and the angle of the light, it made it look like it was flooded. It was not. There was water standing in the parking lot. Turns out Dodger Stadium is sitting on top of a 200-foot hill. It would take feet upon feet upon feet upon feet upon feet of water for the water even to reach.
So
if Dodger Stadium's ever underwater, Los Angeles is gone.
So it would be a Noah type flood in order to, okay. All right.
It would be global devastation if Dodger Stadium ever floods. But people on the internet were like, we lost Dodger Stadium. Oh, no.
Yeah, I do love how you post a picture from something 10 years ago and say it was from yesterday, and people don't check to see if it was true or not.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into it, but a very high level and notorious politician.
I wouldn't call him notorious. Only notorious to you, but I know exactly what you're saying. I can't believe he fell for that. But anyway.
A very notorious.
He's run for president before.
What word should I use? Recognizable congressperson.
All right. If you said corrupt, you're saying politician.
I didn't say that.
I was going to say that's redundant. I just say a politician. I mean, you could say that without saying which side of the aisle is on.
A very high-ranking politician
fell
for the old sharks are swimming up the highways gag on Twitter yesterday.
Yeah, the Sharks were cruising up the
Yeah.
highway, you could say.
Yeah.
You could say that.
One of the Barstool dudes got him.
Oh, they did. They did.
Very publicly got him.
They did. Should I be angry now? How dare you go after? That was hilarious. I saw that. I saw him post it. I'm like, man, that picture looks familiar.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh,
Because every
you
time
got
it
you
rains,
got man, you got.
every time it rains anywhere, the Sharks are swimming up the highway. It's great. Hey, we went.
Does that really happen in Florida though?
No.
I mean, I don't know. I've never been there before. It's
No.
possible. Does it happen in like Louisiana?
No.
Okay, all right.
As far as I've been able to find, there are no documented
Well,
cases of sharks swimming
yeah,
up the highway.
But that video came from somewhere. That wasn't
It's
doctored
a
video.
photoshopped picture.
No, there's video. I'm pretty sure there's video.
Everything I saw yesterday, because I'm like, you know what? Let me go look. I know it's not this, right? I know it's not this, but let me go look and see where this came from. And every source I found said it was doctored. So
Okay,
anyway,
all right.
yada yada
If
yada.
you have pictures of sharks actually swimming on the road, please send it to us.
Oh, I would find that just as interesting.
And also send it to Mark Ryan because he needs to see them too.
We went from, ladies and gentlemen, Tampa Bay to Tampa Baker. Baker Mayfield named the starting quarterback of the Buccaneers in a move that I can only assume was made to continue the streak of quarterbacks whose name fit into the name of the city. Tampa Bay to Tampa Baker. Baker Mayfield gets that. Of course he did. It was never going to be anybody else. This was not a competition. This was let's see how Baker responds to the pressure. That being said, I think it's going to go very poorly. I think Tampa's going to struggle to win 6 games this year. I think Tampa's going to end up checking in dead last in the NFC South.
You know how I knew they were going to name him starter?
Because the other option was Kyle Trask.
No, because they cut Rodrigo Blankenship. I don't know if you
Can't have
remember.
those two guys
You
together.
don't remember
Yeah.
him walking by and say, "I remember you." So as soon as they decided that they were going to make Baker the starter, they got rid of Rodrigo.
Yup.
That nerd will show up somewhere though.
Yup. All right. So that's enough of that. Jonathan Taylor asked for a trade from the Colts a couple of weeks ago. Jim Irsay and or the substances he may or may not have been consuming said, no trade for you, Jonathan Taylor. You, 24-year-old top of the line running back, you are not being traded anywhere until yesterday when he said, okay, fine, go look. You can go look.
You know, 50 years from now, no one will care. But this year, apparently, someone does. That's what he said. They'd be 50 years from now. They'd be,
Yeah. No, it turns out that if you are running your business today, you should have an eye turned towards the future, right? You should always have an eye turned toward the future, but you cannot ignore today to look to. You got to have the chameleon eyes, one in the now, one in the future. Can't worry about the past. The past is the past. The present is a gift. That's why they call it the present. I saw that on a Hallmark card one time. One eye on today, one eye on the future.
I'm disappointed you said that at the end because I thought you just coined it. I was so proud for a moment.
No, I don't coin anything. I'm an idiot. Here's the thing, Jim Irsay. You know what they will be saying 50 years from now? Man, it's been a long time since we won a Super Bowl. How is Jim Irsay still alive? It's been 50 years. Jim Irsay put together a really good team a handful of years ago. He had a young man by the name of Peyton Manning down there with him.
He wasn't that good at the beginning.
No, he sucked in the beginning. But then he turned out to be pretty good. And foresight, it's important, right? It's one of those things that matters.
It's the Jerry Jones principle. I did it once, I can do it again. Like maybe a couple of decades later, but I can do it again. Maybe.
Now, this is very interesting because Jonathan Taylor, what have we always said? What's the age for a running back? What's the shelf life for a running back? 29-30. 29-30 is where an RB hits the wall. That's it. You're done. You're out. Very, very few running backs can pull an Adrian Peterson and go on into their 30s and still have some level of success. Jonathan Taylor, ladies and gentlemen, is 24 years old. He is not even close to the shelf life, right? And on top of that, he is 2 years removed from a season where he should have been the NFL Offensive Player of the Year, but he got screwed because we have to give that to a quarterback every year. Just name it the quarterback award. Anyway, Jonathan Taylor's still very good. As fantasy production goes, he's probably going to be a top 10 quarterback. And honestly, if he played on a team that didn't suck, then he would be a top flight fantasy running back this year, without a doubt. But he don't want to be there. This is interesting to me, not because of Jonathan Taylor and who he is and what he's capable of, not because of the Indianapolis Colts and the absolute mismanagement that Jim Irsay has, for whatever reason, fallen off a chasm into. This is interesting to me because Jonathan Taylor was a big part of the big running back conclave that got held this offseason. You remember a couple of months ago when running backs were having super secret Zoom calls with each other to discuss, hey, how do we get them to pay us more? How do we get them to pay more? Well, since then, Josh Jacobs has ended his holdout with Doritos. We have now seen Dalvin Cook become a Jet for an okay contract. Christian McCaffrey did not get another extension onto his contract like he wanted. All of these guys who were involved in all of these discussions are still playing under the same contracts that they were at the time. Jacobs did his best. He's like, I'm holding out. And then he realized, oh, God, if I hold out any longer, I'm not going to be able to play week one. And you know what happens if you don't play week one? You don't get paid for week one. And he went, I think I'd rather have a paycheck than principles. And don't get me wrong, I understand that. I really do. I'm a guy who loves to say, I stand on my principles. But as I've said many times, if the Live Tour called me and offered me $1 million, those principles would have to take a backseat to my bank account. Welcome to the world, my dudes. So this one's going to be interesting because Jonathan Taylor does want to trade, but he also wants a new contract, which means that if a team does make the trade for Jonathan Taylor, they've still got to come up with a new contract for Jonathan Taylor. And if they're going to come up with a new contract for Jonathan Taylor is going to want the amount of money that this conclave of running backs wanted for themselves. And understandably so. But if you make the trade for Jonathan Taylor, yeah, you get him for a year on the contract he's on, but then you're going to have to re-sign the cat. And he's going to want Derrick Henry money. Probably deserves Derrick Henry money, if we're being honest with each other. He probably deserves Derrick Henry money. But are you going to give it to him? Big fat question mark at that point, right? So now we really get to use Jonathan Taylor's situation as, I think, a pretty decent gauge on what, if anything, these running backs accomplished, right? Jonathan Taylor's a good running back. There should be a list of teams. Hell, I brought this up back in the first segment, and before I even finished it, Lonzo came up with like 3 teams off the top of his head that Jonathan Taylor would fit well on. What'd you go with? You went with Detroit as your first pick, which is spot on. Minnesota to replace Dalvin Cook. That's a great spot. They love to play action, and if you want to play action, you got to be able to run. Jonathan Taylor's pretty good at that, and pretty good pass catching up. Pretty good pass catching option out of the play action set. I think Jonathan Taylor would fit in well in New England right now. They also need a top level running back. I think Jonathan Taylor would fit remarkably well down at Miami in Mike McDaniel's offense. That's another possibility. Baltimore is a very good landing spot for Jonathan Taylor. And you'll notice that here we are. And granted, it has only been 14 hours, 16 hours since we found out that Jonathan Taylor could go find a trade. If he was a top flight wide receiver, I would suspect we'd have a very similar situation to what we had when DeAndre Hopkins became available. DeAndre's on the block, and what happened? A lot of teams were on the horn like real quick. Doesn't seem to be happening with Jonathan Taylor. I don't think these running backs are going to get what they want. And unfortunately, the reality of the situation is, with the way the league is going, running backs are just less valuable to teams than they used to be. Because When you run out of gas in one running back, when you run the treads off a running back, you just go get one in the draft. Kendre Miller in New Orleans. Kendre Miller in New Orleans is going to be the reason Alvin Kamara plays the rest of this contract with the Saints, and then he's gone. Because this kid has flashed in the preseason. It is preseason. Let's all calm down. But that's the reason, dudes. So I'm interested to see what direction that goes in. Here's another one. Captain America. Christian Pulisic has switched teams. He moved over from Chelsea after a very disappointing time with the Blues to AC Milan. They were playing a Serie A match against Bologna yesterday. It's actually Bologna, but it's spelled Bologna. And if Oscar Mayer has told me anything, it's that Bologna.
Wait. That's actually a place.
Yeah, it's Italian, dude. What do you think the meat's named after?
I don't know. I thought it was like an acronym of all the pieces of meat they put together to turn it into bologna.
My soccer team has a first name. It's Bologna. That's not how the song goes, but I had to. You get it. Anyway, Christian Pulisic and AC Milan were leading Bologna 1-0 when Pulisic found Olivier Giroud in transition. Giroud found some space, drew the defense over, sent it back over to Pulisic. Pulisic took one touch to the top right side of the box and then unleashed fury. Christian Pulisic got his first goal for AC Milan when he just absolutely uncorked. That's why I played it. One touch, two touch, and then bang!
I've tried to place the accent. At first, I thought it was Irish. Then at the end, it sounded like Iron Sheik.
I thought it was Scottish. Then I went Spanish. Then I went Middle Eastern, and then I went with I got no idea.
Who the heck is this guy, and where's he from?
I just know that at the end of the day, we're getting 3 clips out of that.
I was,
One touch, two touch, bang!
I was busy looking up, can you buy bologna and bologna, and then you played that. It just threw me.
One touch, two touch, bang! Brilliant!
There's a little bit of Austrian in there too. I have no. Who the heck was that dude?
I got no idea. I got no idea. None at all. Wasn't Pulisic's first scoring contribution to the day in the 11th minute. He hit Reinders on the left baseline, who one-timed it back to Olivier Giroud, who scored from the right corner of the penalty box for Milan's first goal. Pulisic's pass did not register as the assist there, but it was. So Christian Pulisic already showing that maybe it was Chelsea. It's them. Hi, Chelsea's the problem. It's them.
All right, so you can buy bologna and bologna, but it's called mortadella.
Mortadella.
So bologna and bologna is mortadella.
I thought mortadella was sausage. I'm like 90% sure mortadella is sausage.
Well, that's
is bologna just fat sausage?
That's according to bars.com. So, bars.com, they would actually.
Yeah, but bars is where you would find barcouterie, aka charcuterie, but for bars, which means it's usually not like big fancy charcuterie. It's like barcouterie.
I also another thing, what is bologna called in Europe? And it says mortadella. Mortadella is the original bologna and is still widely available in Italy today. The sausage includes finely ground pork, fat, wine, pistachios, and a spice blend that differs from recipe to recipe. So their bologna has pistachios in it, which means, I guess, if you have a peanut allergy, you couldn't eat bologna in Europe, right?
I've also found that mortadella incorporates at least 15% small cubes of pork fat, principally from the hard fat from the neck of the pig. It is traditionally flavored with black pepper, but modern versions can also contain pistachios or more rarely, myrtle berries. The best-known version of mortadella is mortadella bologna PGI, but other varieties are found across Italy, including some made of other meats. A texter, because nothing has popped off the text line today like friggin' bologna. A texter says, I know a guy named Tony, but he spells his name Togna like bologna, but pronounced the same. No, you don't, texter. No, you don't. Stop lying to me. Stop it. You do not know a Togna Tony. No, you don't. There's no chance. None.
Okay, American bologna is commonly made of beef, pork, turkey, or chicken that is finely ground and stuffed into a casing for cooking, which is often later removed.
Bro, that's a sausage.
It is.
Texter says, mortadella is a different type of bologna. Another texter says all bologna is sausage, but not all sausage is bologna. That checks out. That makes sense. Okay, I get it now.
But so is a hot dog a sausage? Because a hot dog is in the casing and it's basically squished together bologna.
Yes,
so,
a hot dog is a sausage.
All right.
It absolutely is. It's a more processed sausage, but it's a sausage nonetheless.
I wonder if you can buy mortadella here in the United States, because I would like to taste the difference.
There's 100% a meat shop around us that sells mortadella. We need the official meat shop
We
of the
do.
Rob Brown Show.
It's also known as a butcher, but or
you know what? I know where one is.
You know where a butcher is or a meat shop?
Both.
Okay.
I know a place. A butcher means they actively
they
cut
cook it.
the meat.
Yeah.
Meat shop just sells the butchered meat. Let me see if it's still there. It is. Over on Woodruff, there is a butcher shop.
You mean
meat shop.
like there?
No, it's down on the other end.
Okay. All right. No. That's not what Woodruff is over there.
Yeah, well, okay, you go to and then you go that way.
Okay, but
That's
it's not
Woodruff,
it's not that way.
But if I go that
That
way,
way-
doesn't it like connect back to Woodruff over there somewhere?
Not that.
I've been here 3 years.
That way's Pelham or Roper Mountain.
Texter said you can get mortadella from Harris Teeter, my guy. You know what? I'm gonna tell you right now.
Do they still have Harris Teeters around
Oh
there?
yeah,
I
there's
don't.
one right at the end of Wade Hampton over in Taylor's where I live.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not only is there, but this is fun. I gotta tell you, the only competition Costco has in the game right now is Harris Teeter. You know why? There's a bar in their grocery store. I can go grab a cold IPA while I put the groceries together. The lady friend and I grocery shop very differently. I go in, I got my list, I know where everything is. I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's get the hell out. She's like, let's hit every aisle and just see everything that's there. I am more apt and enjoy more grocery shopping with a fiance if there's a cold IPA sitting in the cup holder built into my cart.
By the way, Boar's Head actually makes a mortadella. So wherever Boar's Head is sold, which is just about everywhere, and including DoorDash, we could have
some mortadella drop off in the
DoorDash
studio.
here, and then Chris would have to go down and pick up our sausage.
Text. Hey, Chris, can you grab my sausage? Texter said mortadella is the same as bologna, but it doesn't give you cancer. Texter said Ray is losing his mind right now. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Texter says all I know is sausage dogs come with mustard, chili, and onion by default. There it is. We're taking a break. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate.
You see.
All right, guys. Got a live read. Y'all stay right there. We'll be right back.
Why didn't he let go?
It's a hamster.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
the
brain
thing.
doesn't work that quickly.
But why didn't he I mean, first of all, I didn't
He
know
was
that.
just thinking, oh, my hamster got, oh, my hamster got, oh, my hamster got.
Yeah, is that what he was thinking? Okay. Steven is telling you other grocery stores where they have beer on tap, by the way, just in case you needed to know. I also think I sent you another video of, let me see. Did I send you another video? It's a workout. Could be an HR violation.
Now I have to go immediately see it.
Someone's already built the Millennium Falcon in Starfield. I knew it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's no way I'm gonna be.
I haven't seen that, but checks out.
I'm not going to be good enough. I hate those people who get games 2 weeks before everybody else. You know what? Odie's very assertive and will call things. I'm going to get him to get us on lists. We need to be able to get games before other people do.
Talk to your dude, man.
Yeah, but he's just. I don't want to go to the well too many times. We got to find some.
I go to the well
other
like
avenues.
30, 40 events a year. Bad joke. Take it back.
I enjoyed it. I got lost on my way back the other day from downtown, by the way. I ended up in a neighborhood with like $1 million houses. And I was talking to Lisa.
I'm
like,
not supposed to be here.
he's like, wow, these houses are cool. All the windows.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to be a part of the program with us, you are more than welcome to do it. 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. Text us at 71307, 71307. That is the carpros.com text line, 71307. Start that text with FAN, F-A-M. We'll read them on the air. Texter said, well, gosh darn, guys, I was going to try to wait to take lunch, but I guess I need to go right now before my stomach eats itself. Our bad. Texter said, get some mortadella, get some prosciutto, and some thin sliced provolone with some stone ground mustard on a nicely toasted brioche.
Hey.
I'm not going to lie. That sounds incredible.
It also sounds very, very Italian.
Hey.
Some mortadella. Get some bruschetta.
Dude, I for real gotta go to the deli after this.
Yeah, what deli are you going to? Like the Publix deli or something? I mean, you know.
I bet Costco's got it.
I don't know. They might.
All right. Get a couple more things in here before we run to a break. Lonzo, we're 2 games into the preseason. Now we got one left for the Carolina Panthers. I suspect, honestly, that we will see Frank Reich trot out the starters one more time in game
he's
3.
already just a little bit earlier, like 10 minutes ago, said that, yeah, that's happening.
Yeah, they kind of have to, I think.
Yeah, they need to. They shouldn't
need
to, but they do.
They kind of have to, I think. Sincere questions, though, now that we've seen 2 games in the book and knowing that Frank Reich's going to trot out the starters, how concerned are you about the offensive line of the Carolina Panthers? Because I am very concerned right now.
I don't know. I'm still thinking maybe CJ might have been the way to go, but we'll see. It may not be the offensive line because when other quarterbacks have gotten in behind that line, Andy Dalton, Corral, they've looked a little bit better than the starter.
So are you concerned about Bryce Young?
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I think I am. And if you are confident, as again, what was this, a week or 2 ago when I was talking about how all this, he's so smart, he's so all this, but they're not talking about his command of the offense and pass completions and everything, which we haven't really seen a whole lot of. I'm concerned about Bryce Young. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But I guess we'll see. Why else would you, basically we're going to cut everybody who plays tonight. Why would you have him play in that game? They're not going to cut him. What I mean is, all the people who are on the bubble are going to get most of the time.
I am going with because the offense has looked Not great.
The defense hasn't looked that good either.
Not great.
They got picked apart the last preseason game. So maybe Vegas and those people who are predicting the Panthers to be win like 6 games, maybe they're right. We'll see.
Yeah. I think you gotta go. I think you gotta go starters because the first team offense just hasn't been good. Now, I do want to throw out there that I told you guys going into both preseason games, the Jets are going by the name the New York Sack Exchange for a reason. They got a good front 7. The Giants are going to have a very average defense, but the strength of that defense is across the D-line. It was always going to be an issue. Here's the problem. The stuff that is getting Bryce Young smoked, and BY has gotten smoked a few times in this preseason, are easy mistakes to make. In the last game, Frank Reich, after it was over, came out and when asked, hey, BY got, smoked again. What happened there? Specifically about the first hit that Ike Ekwonu gave up. Because I got to tell you, Ike looks like preseason rookie Ike from last year, not back-end rookie from last year. So, the question got thrown out, how are you going to stop that? Like, what happened? What went wrong? And Frank Reich said it was a communication issue, right? There was a communication problem. He said they had 2 calls that sounded very similar. All the offensive line thought it was one call. Icky thought it was a different call. That's why the guy got blocked by a ghost and murdered Bryce Young. He said, we are changing the verbiage of that call so that it doesn't happen again. But my thought was, now hold up just a second. 4 guys on the offensive line got the right call. 1 guy didn't. That doesn't sound like it's 2 words sound alike. That sounds like you got a problem getting the plays put in, which is kind of a massive problem with a rookie quarterback. Mainly because I don't know where the breakdown is. Was the breakdown between the OC and BY? Was the breakdown between BY and the offense, between BY and the offensive line, between the offensive line and itself? Or was the breakdown of communication? Because those can't happen. Here's the other part. Who do the Carolina Panthers have in week 1? The Atlanta Falcons. The strength of the Falcons on both sides of the football is their line. They have a good offensive line. They have a good defensive line. If there is a lack of communication between the offensive line against the Falcons' defensive line, the Panthers are 0-1 to start the season, mainly because BY won't have time to get rid of the ball. It doesn't matter if DJ Chark plays better, because Chark has not looked good in this preseason either. He's looked good in the practices, but when it came time to put on the unis, when it came time to click on the straps and go play, DJ Chark has been bad, right? If the Panthers can't get basic pass block schemes correct, which so far they have not, either they got the scheme right and they just got blown away, or B, they got the scheme wrong and then got blown away. You do that in week 1, you're in trouble. You do that in week 2 against New Orleans, and you will start 0-2.
Here's something else, though, to look at. We were watching the other day. My wife was like, why is the Panthers' offensive line so small compared to the defensive line they're playing? Because they're built to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. I know it's easy to panic right now with all this stuff, but in the end, they're still going to be a running team. They are. And that's going to help him a bunch. They haven't run nearly as much in preseason because you just don't do that. I think that will help even it out some. I am very concerned, but when they start playing how they're probably going to play with a bunch of running plays and a bunch of quick passes, he's probably going to be all right.
I do think Carolina has to lean on the run game early. I've never differed from that. I agree with that entirely. Now, I don't know that they have to stay that way all season. I think you got to stay that way until you get the pressure off of Bryce Young long enough for him to really develop himself as an NFL passer. Because let's be real, we have seen some brilliant passes from Bryce Young, and we have seen some absolute quackers out of Bryce Young.
I agree. But as a former offensive lineman, pass blocking sucks. You want to run block. You want to get down there and hit somebody at the next level. So if you're running the ball a bunch and they're getting out there and those guys are hitting a bunch of people, their run blocking is going to lead to better pass blocking because you don't get bored back there. You're constantly moving around and stuff. And pass blocking can be pretty boring, especially for a tackle.
I get that. I understand that.
I know it sounds like I'm making excuses,
No, not
but
at all.
I mean, it is like that. Trust me.
You gotta do what you gotta do to win, dude. That's just how it is.
And have we even seen the starting running back for the Panthers play?
We have not seen Miles Sanders, and from what I understand, we are not going to see Miles Sanders until week 1.
And you know what? You know who else isn't seeing it? Nobody. So you come out and boom, you start running it down at, you said Atlanta's first, or you start running it down their throat, and suddenly things open up. I think it's so easy to panic, and I am admittedly guilty of that. But when you think about the long, a lot of questions will be answered, not in this next preseason game, but in that first game that counts.
I am panicked a little bit. Not a lot of panic.
My biggest panic is on the defense. They're getting carved up, dude. I'm not so sure that I know that the new defensive coordinator is getting a lot of praise, a lot of love. I'm not so sure about how this defense is looking.
I am more confident in the defense, and I'm more confident in the defense because of who's not playing than who is. We've not seen Derek Brown clogging up the middle. We have not seen Brian Burns is the best player on this football team, period. We have not seen him line up a snap.
Right. Justin Houston's not playing yet.
Not playing.
So I you're right.
So I'm not overwhelmingly concerned with the defensive side of the football for Carolina because of who's not playing. And on top of that, now I've rolled with this a couple of times because even in the preseason, Lonzo, defense is largely reactionary, right? Like you've got your assignment. I need you to line up in the 3 technique. And when you line up in the 3 technique, I need you to attack this gap. And then you have a rule, right? Your rule is when you attack this gap, eyes to the quarterback, eyes to the running back. If you're a defensive end, I want you in a 7 technique. I want you hit, sit, find the nearest back that can hit you, quarterback, running back, fullback, wing back, whatever. And that's your assignment. But at the end of the day, you're reactionary. Your rules are not rules like you do this. Your rules are your reaction to them doing this is this. So with the defense, I think it's a little bit easier, right? If you're a safety, your rule on this play is man coverage on that guy, or it's cover 2. That's your area of the field. Don't let anybody catch the ball over there, right? It's reactionary. It takes less to be ready to go. It takes more physically to do the job, but it takes less to be ready to go, ready to adapt, ready to get into that zone. It will be easier for Derek Brown and Brian Burns and Shaq Thompson and Frankie Louvu, all guys that we have not seen in the preseason. It will be easier for those. By the way, that's your starting linebacker core as a whole. It will be easier for those guys to step in as linebackers and play assignment rule-based football than it will be for Austin Corbett to step back in off that knee injury to his starting right guard position and have immediate chemistry with the rest of his offensive line. So I'm not super, I'm a little worried, but I'm not super worried about the defense. I am exceptionally worried about this offensive line. I really am. Icky has looked like a true rookie. Brady Christensen is supposed to be the vet leader on the left side, has not looked good. Bradley Bozeman was getting abused in the last game. I mean, abused in the middle of the last game. If your center can't hold a block, your quarterback's going to die. And Bradley Bozeman was getting abused. Across the right guard spot, you've gone with Mays, you've gone with Zavala. Neither one of them has been good. You are praying for a small miracle that Austin Corbett gets back. The only guy on the offensive line that's been worth his salt is Taylor Moton. It's the only one who's been worth it. I am wildly concerned because I don't know how you cover up 4 offensive linemen who are now. Do I think they're all going to suck week 1? No. But I don't know how you cover it up if 4 offensive linemen can't do their job, especially when in weeks 1 and 2, you are coming up against 2 of the better defensive lines in the National Football League. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll ask what the X is going on, and then we are out of here. My name is Rob Brown, the sheriff of sports talk. Lonzo's on the 1s and 2s. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. That bed always gets me because it starts in just the left ear before it pops into the whole thing.
You don't believe in panning? Panning's awesome.
No, I love it. It just every time it starts because I'm in the middle of a thought.
Ozuna hit a pair of solo homers for the Braves. The East at 80 and 44. Baseball, their leader topped the division 12.5 games over Philadelphia. The Braves established a losing skid tonight against the Mets. Bryce Elder faces Tyler McGill. Classic Rock 101.1 is your home for every Carolina Panthers game, including preseason. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Chris Sylvester with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
P Digits, be good. Enjoy your meeting, buddy. I wish you the best of luck. Have a lovely time.
The Colts have given running back Jonathan Taylor permission to seek a trade. This according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. Several GMs and talent evaluators were informed Monday that Taylor is available. Aaron Rodgers will make his Jets debut in the team's final preseason game.
It is in the, I meant to bring it to you yesterday. I'm sorry. Through the little hallway door, there's a big black case on the ground, and it's in that case. No, in the hallway. But engineering, right across from engineering's main door, there's a black case in the hallway. It's in there with the cord wrapped around it. Thanks, buddy.
This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Staples has big savings on everything for back to school or stocking up the office. Save on tech for the classroom or your business with up to $250 off select computers. And save on signs, banners, and posters from Staples Print and Marketing Services. Plus, right now at Staples, you can save even more with $50 off your print order of $150 or more.
It's the Ruby Red. Hey, the red jacket was there. It was our motivation. It served its purpose.
Steven, what are you doing, man?
It has been retired.
Stop it. Yeah, it's done. Okay. That's last year. All right. He's not wearing that next year. He's going to wear something even more flashy. Like maybe some Y2J light up jacket type thing. I'm surprised you don't have one of those.
I don't have a light up jacket. Now I want one. I want one with the trim like that one lady's cowboy hat.
Maybe you could have it custom made with the logo on it that would light up and flash as you. I'm just, just throwing some creative ideas out there. We got a little bit of time.
So, what do you provide? Cookie cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios.
Well, first of all, Justin, I pull for 2 college football teams because I know where I came from. I was born and raised in Ohio, but I've been here half my life. And there's no way I would ever, under any circumstance, unless I lost a bet, wear orange. If you can't hear me, I don't know what's going on because it's unmuted. I see it's unmuted. And it's in utility. So, Drunk Clemson fans threatened to throw my daughter off the side of the stadium because I didn't stand up for a stupid cheer. So I will be against them forever. Colonel Grudge is a way of life. Plus, I did a Gamecock show for like 14 years on WORD. And despite what some people say, you cannot do a show about a team for over a decade and not become a fan of that team. If you're just not committed if you're anything other. There we go, Steven. I knew it wasn't me.
This afternoon, partly sunny and very hot with a high of 96.
Weather brought to you by Indeed. Make your next hire fast with Indeed. Their end-to-end hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
From the Ingles Market Studio.
And no one can tell me I'm doing fandom wrong because fandom is an individual thing. All right, time to tell Rob what the X is going on, and he will tell you what the X is going on. So the first thing that's Xing yo is Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin was the woman that was accused by Joe Exotic back. Golly, think about a simpler time. Remember the pandemic? A simpler time in life when we were all locked up watching Tiger King?
Not all of us. I watched like an episode and a half and went, okay, why are people? No.
It was honestly, and I don't know that that show would have worked outside of a pandemic quarantine, but when that show was on and it was all we had, that in the Jordan documentary, that documentary became one of the most compelling things I've ever watched on television.
Well, see, the Jordan documentary would do well no matter when it is. That thing, I get what you're saying, that's the reason why a lot of people were so into it. It was just like, okay.
There just wasn't anything else.
There's people down the road from me who look and sound just like that. No, thank you.
No, again, I get it. I've got people I'm related to that look and sound and act like that. But when you start adding in tigers and murder and people in meat grinders and guns, like it went from, yeah, I got some cousins like this down at the trailer park to, oh my God, what is happening right now? Anyway, why is Carol Baskin trending?
Well, like a lot of things on X, I can't figure out why.
I got you.
Yeah, and I apologize, but I knew it's something that you cared passionately about.
Very much.
And she is trending. And sometimes it's really hard to figure out because once you go in there, maybe you have some skill that I don't have because of age or just lack of skill, but sometimes I can't figure it out. You know, some other people are can't figure it out either because there's always, I don't know why this is trending. Why is this trending? Maybe this is trending because someone wanted it to be trending, and that's what I'm going to go with. She's trending because someone wanted it to be trending. The next thing is trending, and I do know why this is trending, is Cora Jade.
Cora Jade is a professional wrestler signed to the NXT brand of WWE, and Cora Jade debuted.
She has some work done, yo.
Debuted, shall we say, a new and enhanced look on her Instagram earlier, which I got to tell you, on one hand, she's a woman who can do whatever the hell she wants. If she wants to enhance herself, I 100% support her. On the flip side, I kind of liked punk rock. I'm not going to conform to your societal desires, Cora Jade. Like, that was the attractiveness of this character. And now she's just another super hot, I mean, don't get me wrong, super hot, but super hot surgically enhanced wrestler. It's like your whole gimmick was being the one who's not going to come out with bleach blonde hair and enhanced assets. And now you've done exactly that.
They were looking for a heel character to replace Mandy Rose. And ironically, I've been thinking ever since Mandy left, it's been trending towards Cora being that person. And I like her heel character better than her fake skateboarding character.
Man, I like the punk rock character should have done it. And she can do whatever the hell she wants. And I hope she still succeeds.
I'll say you're complaining, but the internet seems to be pleased with it. That's, I mean, you know.
The internet is a wonderful, terrible place.
Yeah, that too. The next thing is trending is
Yeah. L.A. Knight. Yeah.
All right. Okay, you tell me why he's trending.
Because he's LA Knight.
Yeah, maybe that's why. All I gotta say is your boy keeps botching. He's and he keeps missing big time.
What are you talking
And
about?
I think because of fandom, people are overlooking it. I love the catchphrases and everything.
Yeah.
But his wrestling is not on par to, Daniel Bryan, his wrestling was as good as the popularity. There's some other people that
Kelsey, you. We'll just hit them all. Why not? That's it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back to do it all over again tomorrow, but better. He's Lonzo. I'm Rob. This was the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Later. Yeah. Have to take a tinkle. I actually do have that. I meant to save that for when I figure out that you have to go to the bathroom at the end of a segment.
but I will had to the board would have to be left up in order for that. Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to word right there, but
All right, dudes and dudettes, you're all amazing people. Thanks for hanging out. Have a lovely rest of your day. Go get yourself some mortadella.
Mortadella.
We'll all have a mortadella party tomorrow. Nobody's going to make the sausage party? Okay, bye.